How's it going, everyone? Today I have compiled my favorite stories that I've told in the last year so that you can watch them all. This is great to put on while you're doing something else, or if you need something to go to sleep to, this is a great video to put on. So that being said, leave a like in the video right now to claim your free nothing, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get right into the compilation. Leave a like on this video right now to receive nothing, dude. But what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And just for a second, imagine one day this kid comes into your school with all this fancy stuff and you're like, wow, okay, that's cool. But this kid just keeps flexing and he's being super annoying about it. But then all of a sudden it's exposed that he actually stole all of this stuff from his mom. This didn't happen to me, but this happened to a subscriber who submitted this story, and that's what I'll be telling today. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into this pretty crazy story. This one's going to be a bit of a longer one, so make sure maybe put this on while you're doing something, maybe get something to eat, I don't know, but just get comfortable and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Kyle. So anyways, right, there's this kid in Kyle's school who we're going to call Ben. And this kid, Ben, was always kind of a little bit annoying. He was always a little bit of a jerk. But he's also like an okay dude, I guess. And they all kind of knew him. However, one day, this kid, Ben, came in and he was completely blinged out. He was like Bling Bling Kid from that one show. I think Johnny Test, I think. Yeah, but anyways, he came in with a fancy golden watch. He had the new iPhone 27X Plus. I don't even know what it would be, right? And he also, in his backpack, he literally brought a brand new Xbox in his backpack. Like, he didn't even bring any school supplies that day because he just had room for the new Xbox or whatever. So he sits down at the lunch table, and Kyle and all of his friends are kind of standing around or sitting around there talking about whatever. And he sits down, he goes, ahem, and they all kind of look at him. And then he goes, notice anything different? And Kyle's like, I don't know, dude. Did you get like a haircut or something? And he's like, no. And then he takes out his phone and puts it on the table. And it's like the new iPhone 27 Plus or whatever. And they're like, oh, nice new phone. Cool. And then he goes, ahem. And he just puts his like wrist down and shows off his fancy new watch. And, you know, they're like, oh, nice drip, dude. Like, that's cool. He says, oh, that's only the start of it. And he takes his backpack and he puts it on the table and he unzips it and there's a brand new Xbox in there. And one of the kids is like, oh, dude, sick. Like, you got an Xbox? Like, did you get all this stuff at once? And he's like, mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, was it your like birthday or late Christmas or something? It was like the middle of like June. So, or not June, it's during the school. It's like, it was very far away from Christmas. So it was obviously not Christmas. And he's like, no, actually, I recently won the lottery. And they're all like, what? And they immediately don't believe him, but he also has a ton of stuff in front of him, so low-key, they did believe him. And he was just kind of like, yeah, so no, you guys, you don't understand. Like, I was just out there in a convenience store, and they had a lottery ticket. My mom's like, don't buy it. Like, the odds are against you. But I was like, dude, mom, like, the odds are always for me. I'm, like, the luckiest guy ever, and I totally worked for it, and I deserve it. So she's like, all right, I'll get you a lottery ticket. And I said, no, mom, I'm going to use my money so it's more lucky. And I went in there, and I gave them the lottery ticket. I literally won $1 million, guys. You won't believe it. That's why I have all this new cool stuff. I mean, as you guys know from the title, this is a massive lie, but all the kids at the table are like, oh, wait, for real? Like, that's incredible, dude. Like, wow. So Kyle is immediately like, I don't know about that, but okay. I mean, I guess it adds up. I mean, he has all this new cool stuff, and when the average person wins the lottery, they go ahead and buy like a mega yacht and then go into debt. But yeah, I guess so, dude. Like, sure, cool. And yeah, anyways, so he's kind of just like, okay, word. And the spoiled kid is kind of looking around. He's like, I think he was kind of expecting like a bigger reaction from all of them. He's like, guys, I won $1 million. Hello. And they're all kind of just like, yeah, dude, like, that's sick, bro. Like, congrats. Like, that's nice. Good work, I guess. Like, okay. And, yeah, the spoiled kid was like, okay. And then he goes around, the spoiled kid gets up and he leaves and goes to another table. And Kyle looks over, and the spoiled kid is literally about to do the exact same routine. He looks over, and the spoiled kid takes out his phone, puts it on the table, says something, puts his watch on the table, says something, takes his backpack, and shows it off, and then he's obviously telling them that he also won the lottery ticket for $1 million. And the kids at the table are like, damn, like, I didn't know that I was ever going to know someone who would have won more than $10 in a scratcher, dude. Like, that's crazy. And Kyle's like, yeah, I mean, kind of sucks that it's him because he's kind of a jerk, but, like, I guess that's out of our control. I mean, Maybe he's just going to blow it all. At this rate, it looks like he's going to blow it all. Yeah, Kyle says that, like, low-key, he was kind of preying on the downfall of this kid, but turns out he didn't even need to have to pray, right? So, yeah, this kid, Kyle, goes on for an entire week of straight flexing because the next day he comes in and he sits down at the lunch table. And he has a new watch. Like, I'm not saying that these are like Pateks or Patek. I don't know. I'm not a watch guy, or Rolexes or something, or that really fancy Roblox one where you have to pay a whole 10 Robux for it. No, but he comes in with a new watch, and he also puts an iPad down on the table. And he's like, ahem, guys. And yeah, so sure enough, all the other guys are like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, do you like my new iPad? And they're like, yeah, I guess. And Ben's like, I guess. I mean, it's the new iPad. It's pretty sick, if I ask myself. And they're like, yeah, well, I mean, you want $1 million. This isn't like anything crazy. Like, this isn't anything that impressive, I guess. And he's like, guys, it was super impressive that I won $1 million. Like, that took a lot of hard work and a lot of skill. That took a lot of grinding every single day. I woke up at 6 a.m. every single day and read the Constitution by candlelight. I'm just kidding, I add that part in. But guys, like, I worked really hard. Can you just, like, appreciate it for once, dude? And Kyle's like, bro, like, this is cool that you won the lottery or whatever, but we're not going to congratulate you on randomly winning a lottery ticket. Like, most lottery ticket winners that are smart, dude, they put that money into, like, the index funds, and they buy stocks, and then they also don't tell everyone about it. Like, they don't want to be flashy with it. And also, bro, not to burst your bubble, but after taxes, you're probably only taking home about, like, $500,000 or less. Probably less than that. You'd probably be smart to go to a financial advisor and put them all into index funds or put them in the stock market, man. I know it sounds kind of boring, but you'll have a safer and more secure life, and you'll actually be able to do more. And at the end of it, Ben's like, bro, I think I literally just died 7 times listening to how boring that was. So while you guys are being jealous, I'm going to go over and show off my new iPad to my other friends. And the spoiled kid gets up and he goes over and walks over to, like, the other table. And Kyle kind of looks around the other guys. He's like, is he going to keep doing this? Like, I get it. He won like $1 million, which he's only going to keep less than half of it. But is he really going to, like, bring in everything that he buys with that lottery ticket winning into school and to show off to everyone? Is he seriously going to do that every single time? And all the other kids are like, I don't know, man, but it's definitely getting a little stale. It's definitely getting a little bit boring, right? So the next day, the spoiled kid comes into school and he has a Gucci shirt on, like one of those stupid Gucci. Okay, I'm not gonna come for you if you like the hype beast stuff, because like there's a certain look. I spend money on stupid things sometimes. Like, I spend a lot of money on food, where that's kind of like stupid sometimes. Like, I pay for overpriced food sometimes, so I can't really rag on you guys too hard. However, personally, I'm not a big fan of spending like $700 on a t-shirt. I just don't really see that. I understand quality clothes, but there's a little bit of a difference. But he comes in with this like $500 Gucci shirt. He sits down. He's like, guys, what's up, guys? And they all kind of look at him. And he's like, notice anything different about me today? And Kyle's like, well, you got a new shirt. Like, that's cool, dude. Like, congrats, I think. And they're all kind of just looking at him. And they're just like, what? Like, what? He's like, guys, do not see my new shirt that I have on right now. And they're all kind of like, yeah, dude, we do see your shirt. Like, nice Gucci shirt, bro, but we don't really care. Like, yeah, we know that you won the lottery, bro. Like, you don't need to tell us a billion more times. We can see. We have eyes, and we also have memory that's longer than 2 seconds. We remember you saying that. And he's like, yeah, but this shirt is totally drip, right, guys? And they're like, I guess, man, like, look, we're just at a point where congrats, but we also, at this point, we do not care. It's basically what they're trying to say. So Ben goes off, and basically for the next 2 weeks, he continues to flex. I'm not just going to tell you those because I feel like it's all kind of the same after a certain point. But he's always buying something new and coming in. So anyways, fast forward to the weekend, and Kyle was chilling at his house. And that's when he gets a call from his friend Steve. And anyways, Steve calls him up. He's like, hey, man, really weird question, but hear me out. And Kyle, obviously a little intrigued when someone says, weird question, hear me out. You're going to listen, right? Anyway, Steve says, hey, man, so the spoiled kid kind of just showed up at my house today and said that he's feeling like a sleepover right now. So I have family over,
and I can't have him over. However, he said that he's going to go to your house. So, and Kyle's like, what? Like, bro, we're not even close like that. Like, what does that even mean? And, Steve's like, yeah, it's really weird. He showed up all by himself with like a backpack full of stuff. And he didn't show up with his mom, which is really weird. And also when he said, I'm going to go to Kyle's house, he literally just started walking because they all live like generally in the same neighborhood. However, walking from Steve's house to Kyle's house was still like a 20-minute walk. So he's like, yeah, he's on foot walking to your house right now. He left about 5 minutes ago. So you probably got 15, 20 minutes to just a heads up. And Kyle, who's just kind of sitting there, is so confused. Kyle's mom isn't back yet, but she's going to be back pretty soon. So anyways, in about 10 minutes, Kyle hears a ring on the doorbell. And sure enough, the spoiled kid is out there. He's like, hey, man, I was just really feeling like a sleepover right now. And Kyle's like, oh, well, dude, like, you should probably let me know beforehand. Like, I think my mom might have something planned for tonight. And he's like, oh, where's she right now? Kyle's like, oh, she's gone, but she'll be coming back soon. The spoiled kid's like, oh, well, we can just wait for her to come back. And Kyle's like, oh, shit. Yeah, sure, man. And like, speak of the devil, Kyle's mom immediately pulls in as soon as he's done saying that. And she walks over and she's like, oh, spoiled kid. Says his actual name, but spoiled kid, how's it going? Like, I was just talking with your mom. I love your mom. She's so funny. Like, oh, what are you doing here? And the spoiled kid's like, so I was really just feeling like a sleepover today. And I was wondering if it'd be okay if I could stay at Kyle's house tonight. And Kyle's mom's like, oh, yes, he has nothing to do tonight. He normally has sports games or goes out with friends. But tonight is like the only night that he has to himself. Of course you can come over. And Kyle is just like, bro, you cannot be serious. You cannot be serious, bro. But anyways, right, so Kyle's like, okay, whatever, fine, I'll deal with it. And he's like, okay, man, come on in. Kyle's a little bit upset because Kyle's mom said it perfectly. This was like the one night that Kyle actually had to himself because he played on like the football team. So there was always like sporting events. And he also had other friends that he just like had stuff with. I mean, he was always like doing other stuff with his other friends. So this was his one night to chill, his one night to relax, maybe watch a movie, maybe play a video game, maybe hop on a call with someone he doesn't see that often. But no, he has to spend the night with the spoiled kid, the kid that he dislikes and has disliked even more because of what happened this week. But anyways, right, Kyle's kind of just, they're just chilling. It is low-key kind of awkward, but also Kyle's kind of just confused about how the whole thing even happened in the first place. Because, like, dude just showed up to the house. However, this is because the spoiled kid was just exposed for what he did. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That will be the secret word of the day. And also, if you've been enjoying the videos and you want to help the channel, there is one easy thing that really helps me out. Literally, all you have to do is maybe after this video, maybe later today, literally just watch a bunch of my old videos. So you can go to my playlist or you can just click on one of my videos and have them autoplay. If you binge watch a bunch of my old videos, it tells it tells the YouTube's algorithm to promote my channel more. So please let me know in the comment section how many videos you've watched today, how you watch, what you do while watching my videos. Just let me know that stuff in the comment section right now so I can heart and say thank you to as many comments as I possibly can, because it's literally helps me out so much and I really, really do appreciate you guys. Anyways, let's get back to the story because the spoiled kid has been exposed and he's literally on the run right now. But yeah, let's just get into it. So, Kyle's mom is like, hey, like, spoiled kid, like, I was just talking with your mom yesterday. Like, do you, I should call, like, should I call her up? Like, say hello? Like, does she know that you're here? The spoiled kid's like, yes, no need to talk to my mom. She knows I'm here. In fact, she is really sick right now, so I don't think she can talk. So no need to call my mom because she is not feeling that well. So no need to call, like, he just kept saying, repeating again and again and again, like, you do not need to call my mom. And Kyle was kind of just like, bro, what is going on right now? Because, yeah, why would he say a billion times, you do not need to call my mom, dude? Like, you do not need to call my mom. Like, why would you need to say that again and again? Like, I think he's got the message, bro. Like, chill out. Oh my God. But anyways, right? Kyle thinks that's a little suspicious, but he doesn't think that much of it. That is until, a little bit more time goes by, and Ben's mom shows up into the room that they're in, because they're sitting on this, like, couch where there's, like, a TV on. At this point, Kyle's like, all right, well, this kid and I aren't boys, so it's not like we're going to, like, talk about anything anyways, so might as well just put on, like, a television program. Like, what else are we going to do? So that's when Kyle's mom walks in, as they're sitting there watching TV, and says, hey, spoiled kid, I was just on your mom's Facebook page, and she posted that you've gone missing. And at this point, Kyle is starting to put together what is actually happening. Kyle is starting to realize that there's a reason why the spoiled kid just showed up at Steve's house and then just showed up at his house. It's because the spoiled kid is on the run. That's why he didn't show up with his mom. That's why he came over to Kyle's house, someone that he is not friends with, to have a quote-unquote sleepover. It wasn't a sleepover, it was a stakeout. And at this point, Kyle's like, why is he on the run? And then he's thinking, what could he be on the run for? And that's when Kyle realizes there's a decent chance that the spoiled kid did not win money, but instead stole this stuff from his parents. And Kyle's like, oh my God. And the spoiled kid responds to Kyle's mom saying, oh, I'm sorry. I must have forgotten to tell my mom that I was coming over here. Don't worry about that. I'm going to send her a text right now and everything will be just all right. And Kyle's mom's like, honey, are you sure? Like, she seems really worried. Maybe she'd feel better if I told her as well. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. Like, I know my mom. Like, she just needs a text from me and me alone. So do not send a text to my mom. I got this. Thank you very much for letting me know. And Kyle's mom's like, okay then, and walks into the other room. And that's when the spoiled kid waits for Kyle's mom to leave the room and turns to Kyle and is like, Kyle, my close personal best friend. Kyle's like, what? He's like, dude, I need to confess something to you. I did not win the lottery. And Kyle in his head is like, called it. And he's like, the spoiled kid goes on to say, dude, I just like, my mom left her credit card like out. I copied down the details and I just bought a bunch of stuff. I couldn't control myself. It was so sick and the drip was so hard. It went so hard, man. And I really wanted a new iPhone and iPad, and the watches just looked so good. They were in the Amazon recommended, and I just bought a bunch of things. And Kyle's like, okay, how much did you spend? He's like $15,000. And Kyle's like, $15,000? What? You spent $15,000? And, Kyle, spoiled kid, sorry. The spoiled kid's like, yeah. And, like, things were going really well. But that's when, I got home and like I could see it. My mom and dad were in the living room and they had all these papers out. My mom was pacing back on the phone. I knew it then that I was busted. I can't even believe that I lasted a week, man. So I went inside very quietly, ran upstairs, put all the stuff into my backpack, and I ran over to the first person I could think of, which was Steve. And I just said I wanted a sleepover, man, but Steve couldn't have me because he had his parents over or grandparents over. And I was thinking, who else am I friends with who would support me in my time of need? I thought of you, Kyle. I thought of you because I knew for a fact that you would support me in my time of need. And Kyle's just like, okay, bro. And he's like, dude, you gotta promise not to tell. And Kyle kind of looks at him and is like, this kid is obviously lost. Like, he's a jerk and he sucks, but like, he messed up and I should give him some real advice. So Kyle's like, dude, look, eventually you're gonna have to go home. And eventually you're gonna have to deal with the consequences of what you did here. I know it sucks. I know you don't want to. I bet if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't want to go home either. But maybe you should just tell your mom where you are so she can come pick you up. It's going to happen one way or another. And the spoiled kid is looking at him. And he just goes on to say, so you hate me then? And Kyle's like, dude, what? And the spoiled kid's like, you want to turn me in because I'm too much trouble. You want me to suffer. You don't want the best for me. And Kyle's like, dude, do you really think that you're going to be able to live the rest of your life never dealing with this? And the spoiled kid's like, well, I've made it this far, so probably. And Kyle's like, man, okay, think about it honestly. You know that eventually you're going to have to face your parents. We're like in 6th grade, dude. You got a lot more school to go with. You can't survive by yourself yet. So you're going to have to face your parents eventually. I'm not going to force you to do anything. Fine. Stay here as long as you want, within reason. You're getting kicked out if it's more than 2 to 3 days. But stay here for a little bit if you really want to. I'm not going to help you, but I'm also not going to turn you in, which I think is probably the best deal that you're going to get anywhere. Spoiled kid. Here's what he says and kind of acknowledges that, yeah, probably anyone else is going to turn him in at this point. So he's like, okay, fine, like whatever. And that's when they hear a car pull up. And the spoiled kid looks outside and he's like, no, this can't be happening. No. And Kyle's like, what the fuck? Huh? Like, bro, are you good? And spoiled kid's like, no. Your mom must have called them. Your mom must have called my mom on me. No, dude, no. At this point, right, Kyle's just kind of like looking. He goes outside and looks. And Kyle's mom walks in. And she's just like, hey, so I don't know if your text went through to your mom because just to be sure, I sent her another message on Facebook just letting her know that you're here and safe. She said she said thank you and that she was coming over, so I guess your mom, maybe you forgot your toothbrush? I mean, I could have totally given you a toothbrush. And the spoiled kid's like, no time for that, woman! Okay, I don't know if he says that, but guys, that would be pretty funny if he said that. But he runs up the stairs, like he kind of looks at Kyle's mom and Kyle, runs up the stairs, runs into Kyle's room, and locks himself in Kyle's room. And Kyle's mom's like, did I say something? And Kyle's like, okay, it's a long story. So he sits his mom down and he's like, Mom, so the spoiled kid just explained to me that he stole $15,000 from his parents and he's on the run. And Kyle's mom, who had a little bit of a smile and a little bit of confusion and a little bit of whatever, right? It immediately turns into, what the fuck? Dude, what the fuck? Huh? Bro, are we good right now? And she's just like, oh my God, like that's really serious, dude. Okay, I don't know if she says dude, but hear me out. And she's like, that's really serious. Like, and where did he just go? And Kyle's like, well, it looks like he just ran upstairs and locked himself into my room. And that's when they hear. And, Kyle's like, oh, okay, that didn't sound good. Kyle's mom's like, oh, I guess spoiled kid's mom is pretty insistent on getting him. So Kyle and the spoiled kid walk up and they open the door and they see the spoiled kid's mom, who is just looking enraged. She looks at Kyle's mom and says, hey, Janet, I'm so sorry. Like, I need to get my son right now. He's been a bad boy recently, and we need to have a little bit of a talk. And Janet's like, or the spoiled kid's mom, I guess, or Kyle's mom, I guess her name is Janet, but we're going to call her Kyle's mom, right? She's like, yeah, so when he heard that you were coming, he ran upstairs and locked himself in my son's room. I don't know really what to do about that because the door locks one way and there's only a key. And the spoiled kid's mom's like, drat, he's ahead of me. Well, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to drag him out of there. So anyway, she kind of pushes back past Kyle, and Kyle's mom says, lead me to your son's room. And Kyle's mom's like, okay. And Kyle's like, all right, bro, like, let's not break anything. I like my room being in one piece without a broken door. That would be sick, And so they walk up the stairs, and the Kyle's mom, or the spoiled kid's mom, immediately starts yelling like, spoiled kid, middle name, last name. When when a parent calls out your first, middle, and last name, you already know that you're screwed at that point. So she blurts out like first, middle, last name. If you don't get out of that room right now, your punishment will be twice as bad as it's already going to be. And your punishment is already pretty freaking bad. And at this point, the spoiled kid's like, I'm not coming out of the room because I didn't do anything wrong. And, spoiled kid's mom's like, don't you start with that, mister. You don't know the value of money. You stole my credit card and you have no respect for me. I have supported you for the last 14 years of your life. I have given you everything you ever wanted. I have been a supportive mother. And this is how you repay me, robbing me blind and then running away. You can't even face your mistakes. The spoiled kid's like, Mom, I didn't do anything wrong. You just left the credit card there and I just spent it. Like, it was a glitch. A hacker got to it. It was the internet stealing from you. A hacker stole your credit card and sent, like, the Gucci clothes to my house. I don't know why the hacker did that, but the hacker chose. She's like, enough from you. I know what you did. At this point, Kyle and Kyle's mom are just staring at each other like, bro, why is this happening in our house? Bro. And at this point, spoiled kid's mom's like, I'm giving you to a count of 3 to unlock that door and come out here before I get you out of there myself. And Kyle's like, dude, oh my God. She's like, 3. Spoiled kid's like, I'm not coming out, Mom. I'm not, you can just go. It's not worth your time. 2. He's like, Mom, I already told you I'm not going to come out of here. 1. He's like, you're wasting your time, Mom. And that's when the spoiled kid's mom, look, she was a little bit bigger. She was a larger woman that, and she wasn't like in a mobility scooter. She could still kind of walk, right? So she literally, like, football charges shoulder first into the door. And, she breaks through the door, destroying Kyle's lock. And Kyle's like, dude, bro, oh my God. And she bursts through the door, and the spoiled kid is screaming like, ah! Okay, my voice is starting to go, so I'm not gonna do the scream. But he's like, ah! And like the spoiled kid's mom, after smashing through the door, has so much momentum that she loses balance and smashes right into Kyle's desk. Thankfully, Kyle moved his computer, but he always had his computer at his desk. So she smashes into Kyle's desk, destroying like half the stuff on it, collapsing into the floor, and the spoiled kid sprints out of Kyle's room. And Kyle's like, dude, you gotta be shitting me, bro. What the fuck? Bro, what? Yeah, so, yeah, he runs out, runs past Kyle's mom and Kyle, runs down the stairs, and Kyle's mom goes over to help the spoiled kid's mom, and, she's like, where did that little twerp go? And she's like, he ran downstairs. So they all get up, and Kyle's kind of looking at his destroyed room. He's like, okay, I guess this is my life. Sigh. But anyways, right, they all get up, and they all start going downstairs. And they see the spoiled kid run to the door and run outside. And she's like, that little twerp won't be able to outrun me for long. Quickly, follow me. So, like, the spoiled kid's mom literally tells Kyle and Kyle's mom to follow her. The spoiled kid goes to her car and gets in the car and, like, says to, like, Kyle, like, don't lose sight on that kid. And Kyle's like, okay. Get in the car. He's like, okay. So they both get into the back seat, or Kyle gets in the front seat because he probably has better vision. Kyle's mom is literally in the back seat, and the spoiled kid's mom starts driving quickly too. Like, she is like speeding towards her son, who is running on the sidewalk. And the spoiled kid, for some reason, I think thinks he's like, I don't know, the Flash or Superman, because he keeps running, probably thinking that he himself can outrun a car, which is like, bro, no, you cannot. But whatever, right? And he just keeps running and running and running and running. And that's when, Kyle's mom honestly slows down the car so that she's at the same speed as him and rolls down the window and says, nowhere else to run, buddy. I got you now. Come on home. And just come on, get in the car. He's like, no, I'm never getting in the car. And at this point, like, he takes like a left turn into someone's like backyard. And at this point, Kyle's mom, or like spoiled kid's mom, is like, Kyle, I give you permission to tackle my son. Because Kyle is a football player. And like, he low-key wanted to do this from the start, but he also didn't want to get in trouble with spoiled kid's mom because she was kind of a scary woman, low-key, like the way that she was raging right now. Totally justifiable to rage, but she was low-key scary AF. But anyways, Kyle's like, all right, ma'am, like, I got you with that. So he gets out, and he sees the spoiled kid running. And he's running not parallel to the road so the car can't follow him, but he's running like in between a house. And Kyle's like yells out like, I'll give you one chance to come north, like, come here now, you won't get hurt. Spoiled kid's like, I can outrun you, dude. Like, you're not actually that fast. And that's when that was a terrible thing to say, because that's exactly when Kyle just like, is like, oh, starts sprinting at him. Kyle was like fast too, dude. He was like a fast and agile sports guy. He's just sprinting full speed at the spoiled kid, and the spoiled kid lets out a shriek like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to lose my voice any more than I already am. And at that point, so he closes in on the spoiled kid, and then he goes for the tackle. He gets the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid hits the ground. He's like, ow, you broke my face. He didn't actually break anything. It was a pretty clean tackle. And yeah, so we got the spoiled kid. Now the spoiled kid like tries to get out of his grasp. And Kyle goes around, grabs both of his arms tightly, gets him in a position where the spoiled kid literally can't go anywhere. Spoiled kid was pretty small and unathletic anyway, so it's not like he was going to win in a fight or something. And yeah, that's when Kyle and the spoiled kid, Kyle's mom and the spoiled kid's mom, gets out of the car and walks over. And the spoiled kid's mom just looks at the spoiled kid. And they kind of just look at each other. And the spoiled kid stops squirming. And that's when he proceeds to burst into tears. Like, I'm not saying like he's crying or sobbing. He is like, explosion. Okay, he is sobbing. I guess that's a good word. It's like, just kind of like when a baby falls down and they just go insane, or when you don't give them like their 10th scoop of ice cream for the minute. Like, they're like, oh my God, the world is over. Kind of like that kind of screaming, right? And the spoiled kid's mom is like, nope, mister, that trick is not going to work on me. Get in the car. So she grabs him by his hand and drags him into the car. And the spoiled kid is never seen from again. I'm just kidding. So yeah, the spoiled kid was in huge trouble. Allegedly, he was not allowed to see friends for like the entire rest of the school year. It was only halfway through the summer where he was just allowed to see people again. And let's just say that he was not allowed to keep the Gucci shirt, the iPhone, the iPad, probably the Supreme brick. Dude probably bought the Supreme brick too. Yeah, he was not allowed to keep that stuff, and he got in huge trouble. Moral of the story is don't
click on the
steal
video
from your
on screen
parents,
right now.
bro.
I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
You might know a kid who's kind of a spoiled kid. You might know a kid who's kind of, an entitled brat. But this is the most spoiled kid on planet Earth, and I guarantee that. Today we got a story time where the subscriber goes to see his super spoiled cousin, and he turns out to be the worst kid ever. I know you'll enjoy it, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing, limited time deal, fantastic offer. With that all being said, let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Ryan, and Ryan had not seen his little cousin in about 2 years at this point. And we're going to call the little cousin, or Ryan's little cousin in the story, Ben. So the thing is, 2 years ago, they just had a kind of, not a falling out, but like, I know that like Ryan's mom and Ben's mom just didn't really leave on good terms. So like Ryan's mom was always like, they were always like a somewhat middle class, normal family. Like they never like had to struggle that much, but they also never were able to do anything that fun. Like if they were going to have a vacation, it would be like, I don't know, to like us, their vacations would be like down the street. You go to the hotel there. You're not going to like Fiji, or you're going to France or whatever. And the thing is, like, Ben, Ryan's cousin, would literally have a vacation every 2 months to like the most exotic place on planet Earth. But that wasn't the reason why they had a falling out. The reason why they had a falling out was that it was actually Ben's mom. So Ryan's cousin Ben, his mom, or I guess Ryan's aunt. Dude, I'm not good with family trees. But basically, Ben, the spoiled kid, it was his mom, so Ryan's aunt. It was her, like, wedding. And Ryan and his mom showed up. And Ryan's, like, parents couldn't afford, like, $1,000 to give her in, like, a wedding gift. So they got her something that was, like, fairly sentimental, right? They were like, I don't know, it was a sentimental gift. But since like, I don't know, like Ben's mom was kind of like everyone else at the wedding was giving her like, oh, here's gold encrusted carrot for you. It restores the most hunger with good saturation. It's great in Minecraft. And they give her like, oh, here's like, I don't know, gold encrusted whatever, or just like really expensive stuff. And then so basically Ben's mom had a very snarky comment to Ryan's mom about like how like it's a cheap gift or something like that. And after that point, they kind of had a falling out. However, 2 years past that point, Ryan's mom and Ben's mom kind of got on the phone together. And since I think they're sisters, I think that's how it works. Somehow they're like closely related, right? They decided that like just like they got to get over it. Like they're family, they're not going to live forever, and that like, you know, it's just important for them to like stick together, and like something petty like that is ridiculous. I think both sides apologized for the way that they reacted, which, you know, I do understand, like, some people might be like, why did Ryan's mom, like, apologize? Like, she didn't do anything besides getting a gift for her sister who had a wedding. But at the same time, Ryan's mom did cut them off for 2 years. So there's not really anyone who is, like, in the complete clear in that one. But either way, both of them kind of chill out with each other and are on good terms. So Ryan's mom informs Ryan that he is going to go this, like, summer, that they're going to go stay a week at, you know, Ben's mom or her sister's house or whatever, and that, you know, it's going to be a great time because they have a really good house and they live in a pretty cool neighborhood type place, and it's near, I don't know, it's like on the shore, so maybe they're in Cape Cod or Nantucket or one of those places, right? So there's going to be a lot of fun things for Ryan to do there, and Ryan kind of looks at his mom and is like, yeah, but like, I know I'm going to have to hang out with Ben. And the thing is, right, ever since Ben was a little kid, he was kind of like a notorious spoiled brat. He was not that fun to hang out with. But, you know, Ryan's mom was like, you know what, Ryan, Ben was like 2 years ago. Like, I know 2 years doesn't sound like a long time, but, you know, since he's a younger kid, they mature really quickly. He's probably a much better person now. Like, I think that you're not giving him like a good opportunity to prove himself. And Ryan's like, you know, all right, like, I'm not going to make a stink about it. Like, obviously, that's very nice of them to invite us up there. So, yeah, like, that's fine. It's all good. So, eventually, the summertime rolls around, and Ryan gets in the car with his mom, and they drive up about 2 hours to go see, you know, Ryan's little cousin Ben and, you know, Ryan's mom's sister. So, you know, they already know that something's like, that this is not your normal house. Because they're driving up, right? They're driving up to go see this guy, to go to Ben's house, or I guess Ryan's mom's sister, but same thing, right? They're going up to the house, and you know it's a different house when you have to like enter a driveway just to get to their house, and the driveway to get to their house takes like 3 minutes to drive. And I don't mean like a driveway down a street. I mean a driveway to their house. Like, this was like a mega mansion, bro. This thing was huge. Yeah, and at this point, like, you know, Ryan kind of turns to his mom and is like, this kid's house is, like, enormous. Like, we haven't even gotten there yet. And Ryan's mom's like, yeah, you do remember, like, you know, my sister's, like, husband is a very successful banker, or, I don't know, he invented Apple. He's Steve Jobs' guy. He's back from the dead. I don't know, man. But, yeah, like, you know, they're very successful, and, like, this isn't really surprising. However, Ryan was just like admiring the drive up there, because they had like crazy plants from all over the country, or all over the world, I should say. It was super green and lush, and it was beautiful. They eventually get up to the house, and, you know, Ryan's mom gets out of the car, and, you know, her sister gets out, and they kind of embrace each other, because I don't think they've seen each other in person ever since they had the falling out over the wedding. So now at this point, you know, Ryan gets out and he sees Ben. And Ben's kind of just looking at him, and Ben isn't like looking like disgusted or anything. He's like, oh no, how did the Poors break through our gate? Mother, shoot him now. He isn't like doing anything crazy like that. However, he isn't looking like that excited to see him. But then again, he's still like a 13-year-old kid. Like, he's still a kid, and Ryan being 16 is significantly older, right? So he can't be like, wow, why isn't this 13-year-old like showing his best behavior and manners? Like, yeah, it's not great, but the kid was 13, so it doesn't really matter. So Ryan goes up to him. He's like, hey, Ben, it's been a while since I've seen you. And Ben's like, yeah, like, it's been a second. Good to see you again. And Ryan's like, all right, this kid seems nice enough, whatever. And after Ryan's mom and her sister, right, are done, like, embracing for the first time in 2 years, you know, they're like, oh, like, Ryan's sister, like, Ryan's mom's sister. I'm just going to say Ben's mom from here on out. Ben's mom's like, oh, you guys should come inside, like, bring your stuff in, whatever, right? So they go inside the house, and let me just say, the house has like 4 floors to it. It's a crazy epic house. They got a massive pool and water slide in the back. It's like just an awesome house, right? So they get in there, and the guest floors are on like the 4th floor. So Ryan's like walking up all the floors, and he's just like, oh my God, is this a house or a hotel, bro? Like, I swear to God, like, you could have the entire like city, and like, you could have my entire neighborhood live in this house, and there'd still be a bedroom left over at this point. So they got up to the final floor, they put their stuff in there, and they walk down. And at this point, Ryan's mom is talking with Ben's mom because they had kind of had like 2 years, at this point of like not speaking to each other. So they had at least 2 years of catching up to do, right? So at this point, Ryan's mom's like, hey, Ryan, how about you just go catch up with Ben, your little like cousin or whatever? And Ryan kind of gives a look to his mom of like, bro, like, dude, like we all know what this kid is like. Because Ryan, while being fine going on this trip, right, wasn't necessarily trying to spend an exorbitant amount of time with his little cousin Ben, because he still had an assumption that he was pretty spoiled. But Ryan's mom kind of gives him a death stare of a do what I say or you will explode at 3 a.m, and he's like, okay, fine, whatever. So Ryan walks over and or goes over to Ben, and Ben's like, yeah, come up here, I'll show you my room. So Ben opens up his door, and sure enough, his room is Ben's room is pretty awesome. There's everything that a kid could ever want. You got on one desk, you got an Xbox, you got a PC with a massive monitor, and it's it's an expensive PC, right? You got the Lego Death Star, which was fire. I had Lego Star Wars a little bit back in the day. I was more of a Star Wars action figure guy than a Lego guy, but even I could admire a Lego Star Wars, a Death Star. I know how crazy those are. Yeah, but anyways, just looking around the room, there's literally everything that a kid could want. And that's when Ben's like, dude, come over here. So Ron's like, all right, what's up? He walks over and Ben opens up his closet door. And sure enough, there's a massive shoe rack. So Ben apparently is almost like a hype beast shoe collector. So you already know that this kid is the worst. I'm playing. If any of you guys like that stuff. I had a stint where I really, or a very small period of time where I was like, oh my God, if it has a Supreme logo on it, it's awesome. So I fell down that trap too, but I was broke, bro. I was a kid. I didn't have any money. So the most hype beast thing I had were Supreme socks. Yeah, I unironically bought those because I was like, oh, I'm going to be cool now. I'm going to get all the ladies. Let me just say that was not the case. Unfortunately, I really thought that for a second. And also, by the way, I said a couple videos ago, if we got 1,000 likes in a day, that I would tell you guys about the way I asked out my 8th grade girlfriend, which might be literally, it's worse than any story I've ever told on here. I'm not even kidding you. And I'm sticking to my word. I will be doing that because I got 1,000 likes in 5 hours or something crazy. So thank you again. I'm just going to be doing that a little bit later. I'm going to be doing it when I think the time is right, but I will now be doing it. So you guys have unlocked the cringiest story on planet Earth. Kind of hate you guys for that, but also thank you for the likes. Yeah, but anyways, so, Ben is like, dude, take a look at these. And he pulls up the Supreme Off-White Fear of God super sneakers with the tags or whatever and the box logo, and he just pulls up this pair of shoes that are low-key kind of ugly, and he's like, dude, guess how much these are? And Ryan already knew that this was going to be where things went downhill because the spoiled kid is literally saying just oh, guess how expensive these shoes are, right? And Brian doesn't really want to play that game, but he's like, whatever. He's like, I don't know, man, $100, because bro, Ryan just didn't involve himself anywhere in this world. And at this point, the spoiled kid, aka Ben, his cousin, starts literally maniacally laughing. The kid is an anime supervillain, bro. He's just laughing he's laughing like he knows something. He's laughing I don't know, he has an evil plot. This kid is laughing like he's the Joker in Batman, bro. It's ridiculous. And Ryan's like, what? And Ben's like, these go for $1,200 at retail. And Ryan's like, dude, why would someone pay $1,200 for shoes? And that's when Ben looks down at his shoes and says, I don't know, but why would someone even pay $10 for those stinkers? And he literally points at Ryan's shoes, which are dude, they're Nike shoes. They're very standard, normal shoes, right? I mean, yeah, sure, they're a little bit beat up, and that's for sure, right? However, they're very standard shoes. I got some Nike shoes on right now, and yeah, these things are really worn. The bottoms are basically falling off. However, they work, bro. They're solid shoes. They do the job. And kind of Ryan's looking at him bro, shoes are shoes, man. As long as they're not doing damage to your feet and you can walk in them properly, what's the point? And Ben's like, what's the point? The point is that they're expensive. And Ryan's like, well, I guess we got to agree to disagree about what's important in a shoe. And Ryan's like, or Ben's like, wait until you see this. My prized possession. He pulls out I don't know, some other shoe. And it just looks ridiculous to Ryan, because it's like Yeezy Supreme Bape collaboration shoe for $25,000 million. And, and Ben's like, oh, and this one, guess how many of your shoes you'd have to like sell to get one of these shoes? Like, Ben literally uses the metric of how crappy Ryan's shoes are in his mind in comparison to how epic his shoe is. He's like, how many of your poor person shoes would you have to sell to have one of my expensive shoes? Like, literally being the worst ever. And in Ryan's mind, he's like, look, I knew that this kid was probably going to be a spoiled brat, right? But bro, this is a whole new level. Like, this is a whole new level of entitled kid, right? Like, this is a whole new, like, this is like, oh my, this is out of this world, bro. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. Spoiled will be the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart a bunch of comments to say spoiled. So if you're trying to farm some hearts on the channel, make sure to comment spoiled down below and I'll heart as many as I can. And also, if you want to support the channel, the best way you can do so is by watching this video all the way till the end. And then after that, when you guys have the time, if you do want to binge watch the old videos, you can either go to the playlist, which I'll leave in the pinned comment down below, which has all my videos, or just go to whatever YouTube recommends. Please let me know in the comment section if you're watching a bunch of my old videos. It really supports the channel. I'll try and heart and reply to those comments to say thank you. Anyways, let's get back to the story, right? So Ryan's just sitting in the shoe closet with his little cousin, and his little cousin's like, oh, and this hoodie over here goes for $1,200. How much does your hoodie go for? First of all, Ryan wasn't even wearing a hoodie. He was wearing like a Hanes t-shirt, which, I mean, it works, right? Hanes t-shirt's a Hanes t-shirt. It does the job, and it looks fine. And like, at this point, like, Ben is like, dude, show me the tag. Like, show me the label on that. And Ryan's like, dude, it doesn't really have a label. It's like a Hanes t-shirt. And Ben's like, you mean Hanes X Supreme collab? And Ryan's like, no. Hanes X Bathing Ape collab? Ryan's like, no. Like Hanes X Hanes collab, bro. Like, no collab there. And Ryan's like, wait, you mean it's a normal? Or Ben's like, wait, you mean it's a normal Hanes t-shirt? Dude, is this like joking? Dude, if you're trying to be funny right now, you are hilarious. I'm just going to let you know. That was very funny. You're like entertaining me more than anyone else my mom has ever paid to entertain me. And Ryan's just like, what the frick, dude? Like, what is this kid on? Like, whatever drug, whatever substance this... I can't say these things. YouTube, don't be mad. Whatever this kid is on, bro, I'm trying to smoke some of that too. I can't be saying any of this. YouTube's going to be big mad at me. But anyways, right? So eventually he's called down by his mom and they sit down and they have dinner. And of course, Ben's parents have Ben has a personal chef, which by the way, if you have any of these things that like the spoiled kid has, that doesn't mean anything bad against you. It's like you got a lucky hand in life. Like, as long as you don't let that go to your head, you're chilling in my book, because like you couldn't really control that either way. So I have nothing intrinsically against you. But if you're acting like Ben, then like, bro, you're kind of asking for it. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, so when they're down there, like, the personal chef comes out, and he's cooked up, like, some crazy good meal. Like, this meal is super good. It's like, I don't know, it's like this, just imagine, like, some kind of really exotic, fancy meal or something. And the thing is, though, it was a little bit out there. Like, it was kind of like, it wasn't like a hamburger from McDonald's. It was a little bit more complicated than that. So everyone around the table was like kind of excited for this. Like Ryan and Ryan's mom look at each other like, we haven't had a meal this good since ... Oh, wait, the wedding. So it's been like 2 years since the last time we saw these guys. Because I don't know, Ryan's used to like, I don't know, a Chick-fil-A run, some Panda Express, which you can't complain about. But I don't know, when you see this stuff in comparison, you're like, God damn, like this is food. But the thing is, there was one person at the table that was not very happy about it. And it was Ben. And Ben was about to pitch the biggest fit ever. He was like, Garçon, come back here. Okay, I don't know why I called the French chef Garçon, but it seems to be fitting. Because it's like every like Disney movie has the chef called Garçon. So we're going to call the guy Garçon. So Garçon, the chef, comes back in. He's like, yes. And Ben's like, he takes a bite of it. And he like doesn't vomit it up, but he like spits it back up into his napkin super like aggressively, like very, very clearly trying to make a point that he doesn't like what's being served, which fair, you don't have to like everything. Even if something's like considered a delicacy, that doesn't mean you have to like it, right? That's totally fine. If Ben was to say like respectfully to the chef, like, hey, I appreciate the work you put in here, but at the end of the day, like, I just don't enjoy this type of stuff personally. Like, can you just cook me up some like pasta or something real quick? Like, I apologize, but could you do that? Then that would be totally fine, and I wouldn't have a single thing to say wrong about Ben. However, if you're having the chef come over and you like puke it up into your napkin, dude, that's like spitting in the face of the chef who spent hours and hours doing this. That's mad disrespectful. So the chef, being paid by them, has to hold his tongue, because I'm sure if this was just a normal guy, he would take a glove and slap him in the face. But yeah, he kind of holds his tongue. He's like, all right, Ben, or whatever, would you like something else then? And Ben's like, obviously, I'm definitely not going to be eating this, dude. So sure enough, the chef takes it away and he like whips him up some. He just like Grubhubs McDonald's or something. I don't know, man. Something that Ben would like. And Ryan and his mom kind of look at each other like, what the heck is going on here, bro? Like, this kid is crazy. And Ryan's kind of giving his mom a look of like, bro, I told you this kid was spoiled. I told you this kid was spoiled, bro. Like, I told you. Yeah, but anyways, so the next day comes around and they're just chilling, and it's like kind of a hot day out. So Ryan's mom, or Ryan's sister, aka Ben's mom, says, "Hey boys, how about you get changed into your swimming trunks or whatever? You go out in the back." And in all fairness, Ryan was actually pretty excited to go out in the back, because like it did seem pretty awesome. He's not gonna lie, like it was a whole like water park back there. So Ryan's not going to lie to you guys and say that he wasn't at least a little bit excited to go back there. So he gets in his trunks and, he goes out. At this point, right, Ryan's like, wow, this thing's amazing. Because it wasn't just a big pool. It was like a pool with a slide, but the slide was like terraformed to make it look like, I don't know, it was like a mountain, and you were sliding down a mountain, and there was like fake palm trees all around. It was like really beautiful and really pretty and really awesome. And Ryan was kind of excited, right? So he was having a good time. And about 30 minutes later, after Ryan was done kind of messing around on everything, both Ben and Ryan sit on like sun chairs or whatever to kind of chill in the sun and dry off. So at this point, Ryan was actually having a really good day, and he was like, okay, in his head, he was like, yeah, Ben was kind of a butt yesterday. However, today he seems to be chilling, which is pretty cool, and like I can respect that, right? And almost as soon as Ryan is done thinking that exact thought, Ben opens his mouth and once again says something pretty out of pocket. So Ben opens his mouth and he says, like, "You're welcome for me letting you stay at my awesome house." Which, like, what, bro? Why would you say that? Like, yes, it is implied. Like, it would be nice if at the end of the trip, Ryan, it would actually be very courteous if Ryan was to say, "Thank you for letting me stay at your house." But to tell someone, like, "I bet you're super thankful that I'm letting you stay at my house," bro, that just defeats the whole purpose, bro. Like, obviously they're thankful. And even if they're not thankful, it would be the polite thing for them to say that. But that's on them to say it. That's not on you to force it out of them. Like, that's just some goofy behavior right there. So, yeah, Ryan kind of just looks at Ben and says, yeah, man, because, he's having a good time. But he definitely felt it was super weird that Ben was to say that to him. So he's like, yeah, man, like, I appreciate it. I do. And that's when Ben goes on to say, like, must be nice to have a break from your little tiny hut that you live in somehow, which was just the most condescending sentence you've ever heard. Like, imagine someone like you're at someone's house and they're like, "You're welcome for like getting you out of that little hut, that little broom closet, that little Harry Potter under the stairs closet that you call a house, bro." Like, dang, dude. Like, the thing is too, like, Ryan's house wasn't that bad. It was like one story, but he had his own room. There was a kitchen. There was a TV. There was a couch. What else could you want, dude? Like, legitimately, what else could you want? Sure, he didn't have 17 floors, an elevator, a pool, a Disneyland in his backyard or whatever. However, he had a good family, and he had a bed. He had a roof. he had a kitchen counter or whatever. He was chilling. So he kind of like ignores this comment. Ryan kind of like laughs a little bit to try and laugh it off because it was kind of an awkward situation. He's not going to lie. But yeah, the kid actually continued on and is like, Ben's like, dude, like I've been thinking about this recently. How do you actually live in those kind of situations? Like I've seen some documentaries on TV. It's like when my parents donate to those like organizations, does like a little bit of that go to you? Which Ryan's low-key trying to hold his composure. He's not even mad. He's legit not even mad. He just thinks it's funny. It's just funny. Like, bro, are you serious right now? Like, are you real? The charities that are helping, people that are in like food insecure or in countries that don't have as good of like a support system, bro, like you're grouping me in with them? Like, just because I can't go to like Fiji every 2 weeks, dude, are you serious? So yeah, Ryan is just kind of looking at him. He kind of laughs it off or whatever. And nothing really else happens for the rest of the day. So on the third day, the next day, Ryan and Ben's mom decide that they want to go in and they want to go to like the whatever center and shop or whatever. And, Ryan and Ben, they have the option of staying in the house, which low-key Ryan was like, dude, I don't want to go shopping at some women's stores, bro. I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm not trying to sit around in the chairs that are meant for the husbands, like, dude, I'm not trying to do that. Because, Ryan, he brought his computer. Maybe he was trying to watch some Netflix, maybe trying to play some games or something. But obviously, right, Ben is like, wants to go to the Hypebeast store, the shoe locker store and buy all the shoes in there or something. And, Ryan's mom's like, Ryan, since, you don't get to see your little cousin that often, you should come along too. And Ryan, once again, gives a look to his mom like, bro, are you trying to make me hate myself? Like, do you hate me as an individual? Like, what's the word on this, bro? Like, are you trying to set me up right now? But yeah, Ryan has to show up as well, whether he likes it or not. And so Ben and Ryan, they're separated from the parents. The parents are like, all right, we're going to go this way. You boys shop wherever you want. And so Ben is like, all right, follow me, dude. And he brings them to like the Hypebeast, super expensive, whatever store. And yeah, so, they get in there and, Ryan's looking around a little bit. He sees this one shoe that he thinks is kind of sick. He's like, these are kind of like, these are kind of fire. Like, I actually could like pull these off. And he picks it up and he looks at the bottom and it's like $60. He's like, oh, hell nah, bro. I'm not trying to drop $60 on this. And like Ben turns around. He's like, are you going to get those? And Ryan is like, no, I don't think I am. And Ben's like, why? I think they look good on you. And Ryan wasn't really trying to say, oh, they're $60. I don't feel like spending that. Because he knew that like Ben was definitely going to have an out-of-pocket comment. And sure enough, like Ryan eventually is kind of pushed into the corner because Ben's like, I think they look good on you. Ryan's not going to lie and say that they wouldn't because they obviously were going to look pretty fire on him. So he ends up saying like, yeah, I just don't know if I want to drop $60 on it. And Ben comes up with the most out-of-pocket comment you've ever heard. He's like, well, I mean, bro, if you just grinded like I did, if you just worked harder, you would have definitely been able to afford that. And Ryan just turns around. He's like, dude, what? So Ryan's been holding it in pretty well, but at this point, he's like, nah, this is crazy. So sure enough, Ben keeps on going on like, yeah, I mean, I'm super hardworking, and for that reason, I can literally get anything I ever want, like at these stores. Like, that's what all this stuff I was showing you. Dude, I wasn't just flexing. I was trying to inspire you. Which Ryan was like, bro. Come on now. You were trying to inspire me by flexing those shoes your parents bought you. And he basically says, like, I don't understand. And, Ben goes on to say, well, because I'm working so hard, I wanted to show you what the fruits of my labor looked like. And the thing is, right, it's not like, I don't know, Ben had some like secret business, some drop shipping business or something, or he ran a chain of lemonade stands or something like that. Bro legitimately just like played like Call of Duty and like collected shoes. He just had credit card access to his parents' card, who really just didn't care how much he spent on it at this point. So like Ryan was just like, oh, man, like that's kind of ridiculous. However, there was one thing that like this kid, Ben, dude low-key messed up. Bro low-key messed up, bro. Because here's the thing. Ben's mom and Ryan's mom and Ben's mom, they were done shopping at whatever, and they wanted to go and get lunch. So they were walking in, and, Ben's mom's like, oh, I know the guys are definitely in that store over there, because it's like the one store that Ben is always wanting to go to. So Ben's mom and Ryan's mom walk in, and they're walking up, and they can't seem to find the kids. However, Ryan and Ben were like one aisle behind them. So when Ben starts talking, Ryan's mom and Ben's mom are like, oh, that's where they are. But the thing is, right, they stop, like, Ben's mom at least stops walking over when he hears her son talk, when she hears her son talking, and Ben's mom hears everything that Ben says. So after that little conversation, Ben and Ryan are like, or Ryan's like, it's probably getting around lunchtime, should we find the parents? And as soon as he says that, Ben's mom and Ryan's mom, they kind of like burst out from behind the scenes. And Ryan's like, oh, how long have you guys been here? And Ben's mom literally says, long enough. Like, Ben's mom was not having it right now. She was not happy at all. And like, Ryan was kind of confused. He was a little worried that, like, I don't know, his mom and like Ben's mom got another like fight or whatever, or just disagreed over something again. So he's kind of like, oh, geez, like, what's going on now? And that's when Ben's mom, instead of being mad at Ryan's mom or Ryan, goes immediately to Ben. And it's just I overheard everything you said to Ryan, like, just a second ago. And Ben's like, what? About, like, how I'm trying to inspire him? Because, like, low-key, Ben didn't see anything wrong in what he was saying, which at this point, you guys might be blaming Ben, and I totally understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, kid is 13. At that age, you're really just molded by your parents at that point. So the fact that Ben was like trying to inspire Ryan by flexing and telling him to work harder, bro, was just because that was just the aura / energy / parenting that like his parents gave off to him, right? I mean, you're shaped by your parents when you're that young. But Ben's mom was not having it. She was like, I don't understand how you could possibly think that, calling out Ryan for not spending that much money on shoes will inspire him. And Ben's like, well, if he worked as hard as me, he'd be able to spend like I do. So I'm just trying to like inspire him to work as hard as me. And that's when, like, because here's the thing. Sure, Ben's mom was a little bit like living on a different planet since she kind of had unlimited money too, but she grew up as a sister with Ryan's mom, and they grew up in a household where money was much tighter. So even though Ryan's mom or Ben's mom right now might have been a little bit delusional at some points, and especially, when she called out Ryan's mom for giving her a cheap present, that was probably like a little bit of delusion plus wedding day nerves. But she still had enough context, enough life experience, and real-world understanding to understand how crazy of a statement that was. So she goes on to, like, berate the spoiled kid, basically saying, like, I don't understand what you mean work harder, like your dad and I have mistakenly given you unlimited access to our credit cards. We thought that would make you like a better kid for some reason, or just make you happy, but it seems like it's turned you into like an ungrateful, spoiled brat. Like, what do you mean that you've been working like so hard or whatever? And Ben tries to justify that, like, that one time that he cleaned his room was, like, why he has, like, $100,000 to spend. And Ryan's mom, the entire time, are kind of looking at each other, especially after the spoiled kid tries to justify why he can spend $1,000 on shoes every single day was because he cleaned his room once, and that was literally the epitome of grind set, and he's grinding, and that's, like, his hard work. Hard work pays off or whatever, right? And at this point, Ben's mom realizes that she messed up, that this is low-key on her, and that she's got to take a like quick evasive parenting maneuvers to try and fix the situation. So she informs like Ben that, the money he'll be spending from this point on will be 100% due to his like hard work or anything, and that he will be able to have the opportunity to get money from hard work by jobs around the house that she'll be paying out, and that he no longer has access to their credit cards. Ben immediately, right, and here's the thing. Like, I know for a fact that, like, Ben's mom was going to be like, hey, tie your shoes, here's $25,000, or, oh, go cut the grass for $1 million. Like, okay, maybe not that extreme, but she was definitely not going to be like, okay, if you work in the yard for 9 hours, I'll give you $10. That's low-key how it normally goes for 99.99% of kids, if their parents are even going to pay them. Like, most parents are like, dude, you have to clean, like, you clean the house, clean the, like, yard, do all this. We're not going to pay you, dude. Like, you're living under our roof. Like, you should be doing it either way. But you know for a fact that, like, Ben's parents were going to give him a ton of money for doing nothing. However, even though that was totally the case, Ben starts having a meltdown in the store because his parents cut him off from his credit card. Or not his credit card, cut him off from their credit card. He's like, that's so unfair. Like, you know that one of my hobbies is collecting expensive shoes. How on earth do you think I'll be able to keep up that hobby? Like, that makes me really different. Don't you care about college applications or something? Which, like, funny that, like, this kid who's 13 is, like, trying to leverage him buying expensive shoes as something that would get him into college. Yeah, right, bud. At this point, might as well just say that, like, you're a spoiled brat on your college application letter at this point. But anyways, he keeps, like, ranting on, and Ben's mom is yelling at him, like, you can't change my mind. Like, I know I created this monster, but I'm gonna fix you too. And he's like, you can fix me by giving me unlimited access back or whatever. And Ben's like, well, I still have the credit card and you're not gonna be able to take it back. So after he says that, like, Ben's mom literally calls up, like, the bank or whatever while they're standing there and says, hey, I want you to cancel card number, and says whatever, right? And Ben starts, like, crying in the middle of the store, like, Mom, no, you can't cancel that, Mom, no, please, like, I'm not a spoiled kid, I promise I'll show you. He's, like, having a full-on meltdown. Ryan is very, very, very uncomfortably sitting there, just kind of like, oh my God. Like, what am I supposed to do in this situation, bro? Like, I seriously don't even know what's going on. Like, what do I do, right? And after about 20 minutes of, like, Ben crying or freaking out or whatever, they all decide to just go back home at this point. And for the rest of the days, it's actually not a bad time. However, Ben is in the worst mood ever. Like, you'd come downstairs and you'd be like, how's it going? And he'd be like, terrible, I hate everything, and then storm back upstairs. But other than that, they had really good food and they went to some really cool places. And afterwards, on the car ride back, Ryan's mom was like, my sister's actually, like, a really cool person now. I think she was just going through a phase. And Ryan's like, well, I unfortunately, Mom, I can't say the same for Ben. And Ryan's mom's like, yeah, I guess he wasn't as good as I was hoping he would be. And Ryan very jokingly says, hey, Mom, do you want to give me unlimited credit card access to your account? And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a great way to raise my child. They both kind of laugh and they drive back home. And moral of the story is just don't be a spoiled kid, bro. That's all I'm trying to say. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today, we have a story of an incredibly spoiled brat who ends up knocking out his teacher for the worst reason ever. I mean, there's never really a good reason to knock out your teacher in class, but this was just the goofiest thing ever. I know you'll enjoy this story as it's a pretty crazy spoiled kid story. So yeah, sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. And of course, leave a like for your very own free nothing. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Teddy. And we're also going to call the kid in Teddy's class who is the spoiled brat. We're just going to call him a spoiled kid or a spoiled brat. Whenever I give him a name, it always gets kind of complicated. So anyways, this kid in Teddy's class was just known as the spoiled kid. He was just known as the kid who was just very entitled. His parents had a lot of money. He was always given everything like that. But he just embodied being super entitled. He just embodied being super spoiled because he was super spoiled and he was super entitled. And this all started one day when there was a new girl in class. So this girl, this is 7th grade, so they've been going to the same school with the same people forever. But whenever someone new moves into the neighborhood, they obviously join the high school. And so there's a new girl who moved in over the summer, and we're just going to call her Kate, because that's the name I use for basically everyone at this point, or any girl at this point. So yeah, Kate's the new girl. She comes in, and immediately, spoiled kid, who has zero charisma, or riz, as you guys might call it, has zero charisma, right, has zero play, has zero riz. He immediately decides that he's the one to make the move. So anyways, it's like the first day of class, and Kate's the new girl in the class, and it's a little tough when you're the new kid in class because everyone else is talking to each other, everyone else knows each other, and you're kind of just chilling there, you're kind of just sitting there, kind of just twiddling your thumbs or whatever, not really sure what to do. But anyways, immediately, within, I don't know, as soon as class began, the spoiled kid went over and sat right next to her, which she had no problem with because I don't know, when I'm new and someone makes like a move to be friends with me, I'm very happy with that, you know? And she probably just thought that like, I don't know, he's being nice because he knows that I'm new. Anyways, Spoiled Kid sits down and says, "Hey, what's up? My name's Spoiled Kid. Nice to meet me." She kind of just looks at him like, bro. And Teddy's watching the whole thing go down. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're calling subscriber Teddy. I don't know if I said that or not. So Teddy's watching this whole thing go down. And he's just chilling with his boys. And he's just thinking to himself, oh, no. Bro is at it again. Bro is at it again, being a menace to society and being a menace to this new girl. Poor Kate, bro. So the Spoiled Kid sat down. He's like, "Yeah, what's good? Nice to meet me. I'd be super happy to meet me too." And she's like, He's like, "Yeah, so I just wanted to know if you wanted to go in a car ride with me on this Friday." It was like a Monday, so he's talking about like the upcoming Friday, implying like, do you want to basically go on a date with me? He's like, "Yeah, my car is pretty cool. I bet it's a little nicer than any car you've driven in, so it would be a really cool experience. It's a great opportunity for you. Yeah." And Kate's just kind of sitting there very awkwardly. This is like an in real life try not to cringe challenge, and she was about to lose real hard. So she's like, I don't know. I might be doing something with my parents this weekend, so it's a very nice offer." He's like, "Okay. What about next weekend? Are you free next weekend?" And she's like, maybe. I mean, I don't really know, but I can get back to you." He's like, "That's not gonna cut it, actually. I'm gonna have to know right now because I have a lot of women who want to be in the car with me." Which, like, when Teddy heard this, he kind of rolled his eyes. Because he knew for a fact that the line of women, like, he's saying that, like, the Spoiled Kid's saying that there's a line of women going out the door to, like, be on a date with him. When in reality, the line was 0 people long. And it did not exist. There is no line out the door to be dating the Spoiled Kid. Nobody wanted to do that, bro. He has no charisma. He's got no risk. He's got no game. He's got no nothing. He's got no play. Nothing, bro. Nada. Not a single speck of that, right? So Teddy's kind of just rolling his eyes like, "Oh, okay. Whatever, Spoiled Kid. Like, nice try, but she's not going to fall for it." So anyways, class begins, and, you know, Spoiled Kid can't be talking throughout all of class without getting kicked out by the teacher, right? But, you know, one would believe that. But the Spoiled Kid is, like, whispering, like, while the teacher's talking or whatever. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Kate? Like, I just want to say you looked really good in your dress today." The teacher's like, "Sorry, Spoiled Kid, could you not talk during class, please?" He's like, "All right, sorry, teacher." "Hey, Kate, He just, like, kept whispering, like, really loud. Like, you know when people whisper, but instead of going like this, they're like, "Hey, I'm just whispering right now." I'm like, dude, shut up. You're so loud. Just because you kind of make your voice hoarse or something, like make it kind of rough sounding, doesn't mean you're whispering, bro. You're basically whisper yelling at me. So yeah, the Spoiled Kid was basically whisper yelling at Kate the entire time, being like, "Yeah, it's just some really nice shoes you got on right now." And the teacher's like, "Spoiled Kid, can you please shut the fuck..." No, I was kidding. He's like, Spoiled Kid's like, he's like, "Hey, can you please not interrupt class? This is the second time asking you. The third time I will ask you to step outside." Spoiled Kid's like, "Yeah, okay." Mumbles under his breath, "Whatever, dude." At this point, Teddy's just watching the most failed Riz attempt on planet Earth. This is a 0 out of 10 Riz attempt. It's time to just retreat. Mission failed, we'll get him next time type moment. This is not going well for the Spoiled Kid, which is great and all. But the Spoiled Kid had a lot of confidence that maybe wasn't deserved. And by maybe wasn't deserved, I mean most definitely wasn't deserved. And this story is basically a saga of the Spoiled Kid versus the teacher, and this is the first arc of the story, as you will see very soon. This is basically episode 1 of Spoiled Kid versus the teacher. So the Spoiled Kid is trying to continue to talk to Kate, right? He's like, "So, Kate, have you gotten any updates on next Friday?" And remember, he like just asked her like 20 minutes ago, and she says, "I don't know. I don't know if I'll be around next Friday, but I'll get back to you." Dude, like, how is she supposed to know at this point? She's literally been sitting in class next to you for the last 20 minutes. She's not been on her phone. She's not been home. She's not talked to anyone. Like, literally no time has passed at all. And he's like, "Hey, Kate, I was wondering if Friday was free again." Like, of course it's not free, bro. You just asked. Chill out. And she kind of looks at him and shakes her head like, no, I don't know. And the teacher kind of notices the spoiled kid speak again, but I think the teacher wanted the spoiled kid, gave like the spoiled kid a unspoken like extra pass for that one. But obviously if you heard him speak again, it's time to get out of there, right? So the teacher's like speaking, talking about something, and at some point the teacher's like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I forgot to introduce our new student. I mean, I guess they were all new 7th graders, but, you know, Kate was the only new girl in the class who wasn't there last year. So the teacher thought it would be a good idea to introduce her in front of everyone. So the teacher's like, all right, Kate, not to put too much of a spotlight on you. I know this is kind of stressful, new to you, but if you could stand up and introduce yourself to the class. She's like, hey guys, like my name's Kate. Like, I'm new here. I just moved here. I don't know, going on hikes. She just says stuff, right? And the spoiled kid speaks up. He's like, and she's gonna go on a date with me this Friday or next Friday in my really cool car. And Kate just turns bright red because one, that's just not what anyone said. Actually, that's what the spoiled kid said. That is not what she agreed to or had any idea was like the deal or whatever. And also, second of all, I think she realized pretty quickly that being associated with the spoiled kid was not really a great way to make a first impression to people. Like if people, like, you know, guilty by association, like if you associate with someone or something that's not good, then you're just going to become not good by association to that thing or person. Yeah, I think she realized pretty quickly that being associated with the spoiled kid was just going to be a really bad call because, yeah, just like the way he acted for the last 30 minutes kind of gave her the idea that, yeah, that's not what's good, right? So everyone goes dead silent. It's not like they were talking before, but you know, there's kind of like a lively silence and a very awkward dead silence. It went from like a normal silence to like pure silence as everyone's just like, what did this kid just say? The spoiled kid's like, yeah, you guys not hear me? Yeah, she's going on a date with me this next Friday. My really cool car. Yeah. And, you know, Kate's like, well, I don't know if I agree to that. And he's like, she totally wants to, guys, as you can tell. And the teacher clearly was not looking very happy. But he once again didn't say anything because he just kind of like bit his tongue or whatever. He's like, whatever. So she sits down and he goes back to teaching. And the spoiled kid leans over. He's like, hey, Kate, I just wanted like to make sure like next Friday still works with you as you said it would. And Kate's starting to get a little bit annoyed. She's like, I don't remember saying that it was okay. Like that, I never remember saying that I wanted to go on a date with you next Friday. I don't remember saying that. He's like, what? But in this time, the spoiled kid doesn't even start. He doesn't even whisper anymore. Just straight up is like, what? But I thought you said you wanted to go on a date. And the teacher turns around and is like, spoiled kid. And they kind of have a showdown. They're staring at each other. They're having a showdown. And the teacher's like, spoiled kid, I give you 2 warnings and let a lot of other things slip. But this is your 3rd strike. Stand outside. Spoiled kid's like, but I was... Because, like, I think the spoiled kid was, like, upset because, like, he was rizzing, whatever you want to call it, Kate, right? Which is just not the case. He was failing, bro. I don't know how else to say it. But he was like, but you can't do that, teacher. No, I'm just not going to do it. Teacher's like, spoiled kid, I will give you a 0 on today's participation if you don't step outside right now. And the thing is, in that class, participation was like 50% of the grade. So even getting a 0 even on one day, which doesn't sound that bad, actually has a bit of an impact. And the spoiled kid's like, well, I'm still staying here. And the teacher's like, you will get a 0 on this month's participation, which basically meant the kid was going to get a C or below. And eventually spoiled kid stood up and is like, very upset. This was the beginning of a long saga of spoiled kid versus the teacher. Oh yeah. Anyways, moving on to the second arc of spoiled kid versus the teacher. There's a big test in this class. And so this is like 2 weeks after the Kate incident, right? Which is the very beginning of school. Actually, no, this is like a month after because it's the test, of course. So the test, like the first kind of test or whatever, happens about a month into school. The spoiled kid and the teacher in this time period have had a few mini spats with each other, but the first big thing was the Kate one, and the second big thing that led up to the final explosion, aka him knocking out his teacher, which we'll get to, is pretty crazy. But the second thing that led up to that, the first thing being the Kate one, but the second thing is as follows. So they had a really massive test about a month into school. And, or like, I guess a test. All tests are kind of massive. You know, if you only have a couple and they count for a lot of your grade. Anyways, though, so the spoiled kid is just not paying attention in class the whole time. He's like talking to this guy like in the back of the class. They're playing like, I don't know, cool math games, slither.io, like those kind of, those kind of like computer games, you just like the quick ones. Not like a full intensive, like he's going to hop into a Call of Duty lobby or to start playing like, I don't know, Minecraft or something in class, like some of the Minecraft kids in the previous stories have done. No, he's not that crazy. He's not that out there. But he is playing like those kind of discrete games that you just play in class. Like, I've definitely done that a few times. But you know for a fact, if there's a massive test that I'm preparing for, or there's something massive that like I actually got to pay attention in class, you know for a fact that I'm not going to be playing one of those little distraction games in class. But sure enough, the spoiled kid was doing so. Which at the end of the day, I in my personal opinion, I think it's his, like, he can do what he wants, but he also has to realize that he will suffer the consequences for not paying attention in class, right? So sure enough, he does not pay any attention when the teacher is doing review. Like the teacher's legitimately doing just review for the test at this point. So yeah, it eventually comes to the day of the test, and the spoiled kid sits down. And he sits down next to, Teddy, actually. Remember, the subscriber who submitted the story. You can submit your own stories to my Instagram or Twitter. Just follow me there and then DM me your story. So he sits down next to Teddy. And Teddy is aware that the spoiled kid has not been in class for like the entire week. Or he has been in class, but he's been mentally somewhere else, right? And Teddy kind of sits down next to him, and Teddy's totally prepared. He's going to kill it, or at least do all right. Like, if Teddy messes up big time and freezes and screws up everything, worst comes to worst, he might get a B. Like, he's going to kill it either way. And he sits down next to the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid is, like, very clearly looking over at Teddy's paper. And Teddy, like, looks back at him. And they make eye contact. Like, the spoiled kid is looking down at Teddy's paper, looks up at Teddy, and Teddy's just staring him down. The spoiled kid's like, oops. So, yeah, Teddy kind of, like, moves his elbow so that it makes it very, very difficult, if not impossible, for the spoiled kid to read his answers. And the spoiled kid's like, oh, crap. So yeah, the spoiled kid goes on to not really be able to answer any of the questions correctly. Yeah, the spoiled kid just kind of like fumbles around. He's like, well, maybe if I do... Wait, if this is multiple choice, can I just select all the answers and get partial credit? Damn it. Right, so the spoiled kid just does not do well on this test. And eventually he has to hand it in because he's the last one in class scribbling it down. And the teacher picks it up. And 3 days later, the teacher has all the tests graded. And the teacher's walking around the class. And the teacher's handing back these tests to all the students, right? So he hands them back to Teddy and his friends or whatever. And eventually gets over to the spoiled kid. And then when the spoiled kid gets it, he's like, ah, crap, dude. And sure enough, right, spoiled kid's like, raises his hand. And he's like, Mr. Teacher. Mr. Teacher. And the teacher turns around and is like, oh, yes. He's like, Sue, could you come over here for a second? I just have a question on number 3. And the teacher's like, oh, okay, whatever. Teacher walks over to Teddy. And, not Teddy, sorry, the spoiled kid, who is sitting not next to Teddy, but close enough that Teddy can overhear what's happening. And so the teacher comes over to the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid's like, hey, Mr. Teacher. So I'm not really that happy with the grade I got on the test. Could you help me out? Maybe bump me up 20 or so points? And Teddy, when he overheard this, is just like, hey, yo, bro, what? You want to bump you up 20 points? Huh? Do you think he just like pulls these grades out of his butt or something? You think he just like random number generates these grades? Like, bro, they're attached to something. What are you talking about? So yeah, the teacher's like, no. I mean, spoiled kid really thought like, oh, I could just pull this off. And that's when the spoiled kid says, well, I guess I thought you'd say that. So Maybe this will help you reconsider. Spoiled kid reaches into his pocket, pulls out his wallet, opens it up, and takes out a $20 bill and starts waving it around. It's like, teacher, this will be in your desk by the end of the day if you promise that you will change my grade to a 100%. Not even bumping it up, just round it up to a 100%. And the teacher's looking at him with this blank face and is like, really? You're going to bribe me for a $20 bill? You know, if someone found this out, I could lose my entire job. I could lose my entire profession for $20. And spoiled kid's like, yeah, it's like a whole $20. I mean, you're a teacher, so what do you get paid? Like $25 a year or something? The teacher's like, no. And spoiled kid's like, what? Well, it's still a really good deal, and I would totally take it if I was you. And the teacher's like, no. First of all, I'm not gonna risk my job for $20. Second of all, on the principle of the matter, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. And the spoiled kid's like, what? I think the spoiled kid was totally fine failing the test, or it wasn't totally fine, but kind of thought that his plan B, which was bribing the teacher, was so oh, he got that in the bag, bro. He doesn't have to worry at all. But yeah, no, he does need to worry because the teacher failed him on the test and didn't take the bribe. At this point, the spoiled kid really does not like the teacher. He has major beef with the teacher. And the next day, not the next day, but a couple days later, on that day, on what feels like a normal day, is about to be one of the craziest days in Teddy's school history. It's about to be the craziest day by far that Teddy's ever had at school. Because on that day is when the spoiled kid legitimately knocks out the teacher, dude. Yeah, not even kidding. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, you see I'm doing it a little later on. I normally do it 10 minutes in. Now we're doing it 20 minutes in. If you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret-ish word of the day. They're never that hard to guess, but it'll be the word of the day. Please comment them down below. I'll try and heart as many as I possibly can. And also, this video will be on Spotify too, as well as my future stories. In fact, you can kind of listen to them, some of them, an hour or two before they go up on Spotify. Also, follow the TikTok down below. I'll be posting my shorts on there, help out the channel. And finally, the best way to support the channel is to, one, finish this video all the way through. And then after you're done with that, go ahead and watch some more of my older videos. A really easy way to do that is to go watch older videos from my Storytime playlist, which will be linked in the pinned comment down below. Please comment down below if you are watching my old videos or binge watching the videos, as it really supports the channel, and I will try and heart your comment and say thank you for doing such. Anyways, let's get to the point where this kid knocks out his teacher, bro. This is why you all came here. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, I didn't think so. So this all started in what felt like a normal day, after all this has gone on, obviously. And the spoiled kid was late for class. And I know in college and in some high schools, but specifically in college, you can get away with being late for class, especially if it's a lecture class where the teacher doesn't even really know who you are and they don't take attendance. You can even just not show up for every day except the exams and you'd be fine. But in most high schools and middle schools, and at least in my high school and middle school, attendance was a really big deal and you would get really penalized for being late or being, I don't know, for just not attending enough or whatever. And that was true for this middle school as well. So the spoiled kid was late. And this wasn't the first period of the day, because then he could say, oh, I got in late, therefore I am late, sorry about that. But instead, he just, this was middle of the day. He just did not feel like showing up to the class because he didn't like the teacher so much. So the spoiled kid came in very salty. When the spoiled kid opened the door, he didn't simply open the door. He slammed that door open, bro. He got that whap. He just got the door. Boom. Door is slammed open. So he already was pretty clearly not having the greatest day ever, which that happens to all of us, man. We've all been there. Life happens like that sometimes. It is what it is. But yeah, sure enough, the spoiled kid comes in, boom, slams the door open, which, bro, if I'm late to class, I'm opening that door as quietly as possible. I'm not trying to make a disturbance. I'm not trying to run in. That reminds me, one time my freshman year, someone was late and the teacher was doing a presentation. And instead of just coming in quietly and sitting down, Guy opens up the door, says, "I'm so sorry, I'm late." And everyone turns, the teacher turns, everyone's looking at him. The flow of the presentation is completely interrupted. Like, bro really played himself trying to be more nice about it, but whatever, right? So he slams the door open. I bet the spoiled kid just got rejected by some girl or something. So he was not in a good mood. And he already didn't like this teacher that much. And the thing is, also, the spoiled kid must have, I don't know. I don't know why, but instead of having his backpack on his back, he was holding, the very top of the backpack, it has a little handle. He was holding it on the handle. And his backpack was full of books. So it was very heavy, right? This is important for just a second later. The teacher, instead of just kind of ignoring it, which maybe the teacher in retrospect should have just ignored this. But yeah, the teacher doesn't end up just ignoring it. And, the teacher is turns, he's like, "Spoiled kid, you know what I feel about attendance and being late to class. I'm going to have to write this up and send this to the front office." And the spoiled kid must have had other demerits or whatever, because I think if you were late enough, you eventually had to do you either weren't allowed to have a free period or you had to spend your free period helping out, I don't know, in the kitchen or something. Or, I don't know, for some reason there was some kind of punishment. It wasn't like you're getting expelled for being late to class, but it was still something. It was definitely something big enough and annoying enough that the spoiled kid didn't want to deal with it. So the spoiled kid does something absolutely crazy. I guess he just wasn't having a good day, because the spoiled kid is he's like, "I'm going to give you one chance. I'm going to give you one chance to take that back." And teacher's like, "No." They just, "What?" Bro, what are you saying? The spoiled kid's like, "Fine, then you've sealed your own destiny." And the spoiled kid, I guess, was close enough to the teacher. He takes a backpack, he swings it behind him, and just full force, going a very powerful swing and just letting momentum run, just whips the backpack around in the air, and just boom, clean collision with the teacher's head, boom. And the thing is, there was enough heavy textbooks in there, and while this kid wasn't some big bodybuilder football guy, he swung it around, and momentum, plus just how heavy the backpack was enough that when it made collision with the teacher's head, bum, out cold. Teacher literally falls back and collapses on the floor. The entire class goes dead silent. And the spoiled kid kind of realizes that he just messed up big. And he's like, "Oh my God, guys, my backpack just slipped out of my hands. How did that happen?" No, everyone in the class, including Teddy, very clearly saw him just whack the teacher in the head with the backpack and knock him out cold. The teacher comes to in the next 30 seconds. He wasn't out for forever, right? And the teacher's grasping onto his head. He's like, "Jaw, what just happened?" And some kids are running up to the teacher. These two kids kind of stand between the teacher and the spoiled kid, and kind of just hey, kind of just to make sure that he didn't attack him again, even though it was pretty clear I don't think the spoiled kid was going to do that or anything like that again. And, the teacher's starting to get his memory back. He's like, "Wait a minute, did that kid?" And he points at the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid has the backpack in his hand. It's very clear that he's looking super guilty. And the teacher's like, "Give me my phone." So when the kid reaches over, gets his phone, the teacher calls up the security. He's like, "I need you to come down to the class right now." So sure enough, a couple minutes later, teacher's still sitting on the floor. Two security guards come in and say, "What happened?" And the teacher says, "Yeah, see that kid right there?" Points to the spoiled kid. "He just hit me over the head with his backpack and knocked me out cold for 30 seconds or something." So immediately the two security guards go up to the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid's like, "Guys, it slipped out of my hand. It wasn't my fault." And just literally grab his backpack and then grab him basically. And are pushing him out into the hallway. He's like, "Guys, no, it slipped out of my hand. It wasn't my fault." And so all the kids were just kind of sitting there. And the teacher's like, "Oh God, I should really get this checked up." Teacher says, "All right, guys, I did have a lesson plan today, but I should really just go to the health center, get this checked up, maybe get some aspirin. My head is not feeling great. Maybe get a concussion test. I don't even know at this point." Anyways, class is canceled today. Go about your business, whatever you're gonna do, and So the spoiled kid was suspended for an entire week. He was also forced to sit in the back of the class, and it was very awkward for the rest of that year. And yeah, that is the saga of the spoiled kid versus
Click on the video on
teacher.
screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.
How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a good day, because today I have a story of betrayal. Today I have a story that is probably the biggest emotional roller coaster I will ever take you on with any of my stories ever. This is probably one of the best and the most interesting, and at the end, one of the saddest and most unfortunate stories I have ever told. So I suggest that, you find somewhere comfortable, maybe turn on a video game or start doing some artwork or something, or do something, because this is going to be quite the experience. Subscribe if you're new, and let's call the subscriber who submitted the story Kevin. So Kevin was dating this girl, Sarah. Sarah and Kevin had been dating for 4 years. At the time of this story, Kevin was a senior in high school. They started dating at the very end of 8th grade. Back then, Kevin and Sarah were very different people. Kevin and Sarah were, they were both very young. They were, very happy. They were full of life and all of that good stuff. And Kevin had more or less changed for the better, I would say. He described himself as becoming kind of more responsible, a bit more confident, a bit less juvenile. However, he still kind of said that he tried to keep his fun side. He tried to keep try to keep that good side of him. However, over those 4 years, Kevin saw a change in his girlfriend, Sarah, a change for the worst, unfortunately. Sarah kind of, developed the mean girl's personality. Sarah didn't really care about any of that stuff when they first met in 8th grade. But over the years of high school, Sarah found a clique of girls, and those clique of girls kind of, built her down in a sense, and she built them down. And they definitely didn't build her up, or I guess tear her down. You didn't build her down, but essentially, right, Kevin noticed that over time, Sarah became more and more caught up in, drama and stuff that was really just unnecessary and petty, and that Sarah would, start to talk more and more, harshly about her friends, the people that Kevin thought, that Kevin saw her hang out with all the time, and really just kind of become more cruel and mean. That's something that just happens sometimes in high school. High school is a tough time, and, sometimes, people fall for the allure of being popular at the expense of their soul, in a sense. And that's a bit of an exaggeration because, dude, it's high school. After high school, a lot of people become chill again. But, Kevin was starting to feel, a little strain in their relationship. Sarah would, they would get into more fights and arguments. However, Sarah, which Kevin assumed was just to make sure that she saved face with, kind of her popularity and status, because Kevin was a somewhat popular football guy in the grade, that Sarah would refuse for them to ever break up. And Kevin never made an actual, attempt to break up. He kind of just assumed that before they went off to college, that they would be all set. Not that they'd be all set, but they would mutually agree to go to different places because they were not planning on going to the same college. And so Kevin was like, you know what, I'm not going to break up yet. This is fine. I still enjoy spending time with her, etc. like that. This whole story, that was a bit of backstory. This whole story starts one Friday night. So anyways, Kevin gets back home from school. He just finished up, a lot of his college apps. He's feeling good because this is fall of his senior year. And he just finished up a lot of his applications out to college. A few more to go, but he's feeling good. And he's ready to really just, have a lot of rest and relaxation. And he gets a text message from one of his friends. And we'll just call the friend Ben. And his friend Ben is like, bro, my parents are out for the week. I got the house to myself. I'm having a pretty crazy rager over at my house tonight. Party starts at 9, goes till when the last person leaves. I'd love for you to show up. And, Kevin responds, yeah, dude, of course, love to go. Yeah, that sounds great. And, Kevin, he's a little excited. He's going to be able to see his friends again. I mean, he's seen his friends, but, see them in a less formal, setting, like school or something like that. So Kevin gets all ready and, he gets his stuff together and, he gets in his car and he drives over to the party and he gets there around 9:30, 9:45. And, he's greeted at the door by Ben, his friend. And Ben's like, dude, Kevin, so excited for you to make it. This is great. Welcome, come on in. He's like, oh, yeah, your girlfriend Sarah's here, too. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, she kind of just showed up. And that was a little weird to Kevin because Kevin sent her a text, yo, you going to Ben's party? And she said no. So, Kevin goes in there, starts talking to people, and sees Sarah, and goes up to her. And he's like, hey, I didn't think you were coming. And she's like, well, I'm allowed to change my mind, am I not? And Kevin's like, yeah, of course you're allowed to change your mind. Of course. I just thought you would tell me, because, it's kind of implied that I was coming. And she's like, yeah, well, I decided to come, and here we are, so might as well enjoy it. And Kevin's like, all right, yeah, that's fine. I'm enjoying myself. And then, Kevin and Sarah were kind of standing there. And it was, by the way, this was a very big house. That is an important detail. This kid had pretty loaded parents. So they had a pretty big, crazy house, a backyard with a pool and all that stuff. And, Kevin and Sarah were kind of standing there. And Sarah's like, can you go talk to your friends or something? I want to walk around and talk to people. Kevin's like, well, I could walk around with you. And Sarah's like, you know how that never works with my friends. You know how us never works, in a group, my friends and you. It just doesn't mix that well. You have plenty of friends here. Why don't you go off and talk to them? Kevin was a little bit okay, whatever, fine. So Kevin's like, all right, well, that's fine. If you didn't want me here in the first place, you should have told me. And Sarah's like, that's not what I said. I just said I wanted to hang out with my friends. Is that so terrible? Is that so bad of me? And Kevin's like, stop overreacting. It's whatever. Fine, I'll go. That makes you happy. And she's like, well, it does, because I like seeing my friends. So Kevin goes over and he talks to some of his guys, and, he's like, yeah, so this is, how's it going, everyone? How are college apps? All that kind of stuff. And they were like, dude, it's crazy. This is ridiculous. I don't know why it's so hard. I don't know. Stuff like that. And, that's when Kevin sees his older brother, older by 6 months, right? Mike walk in as well. So Mike is the older brother. However, since there's only a 6-7 month differential, they're in the same grade. They just don't share a lot of classes. So Mike walks in. Kevin's like, hey, what's good, Mike? Mike's like, hey, Kevin, didn't know you'd be coming here tonight. He's like, yep, no, I'm here. So Mike walks in, and Mike kind of has a different friend group. Kevin and Mike are they're close, and they're cool enough at the home, right? But they just hang out with different people. But they are brothers, right? They are biological brothers. They have that kind of instinct with each other. Yeah, they're brothers. Just that's an important detail for later on. Maybe you figured out a few context clues from the thumbnail of this video. But anyways, right? So, Mike goes in and just disappears into the party, and more people start showing up. They start piling in. The party starts getting denser. There's a lot of people in every single room. And that's when Kevin, goes to the bathroom, and that's, when he's done in the bathroom, he opens it up, and his friend Ben is at the door. He's like, dude. And Kevin's like, what? He's like, dude, I don't know. There's something really weird going on. And Kevin's like, bro, what's going on? Because at first Kevin thought oh, maybe someone brought something they shouldn't have here, or maybe there's a fight breaking out or something that, since he's kind of a bigger guy, he'd be able to help and go handle. And he goes up, he's like, dude, what is it? I'll help. And, Ben's like, bro, this is kind of weird. I don't want you to get the wrong message from this. I'm just looking out for you. He's like, are you, Mike, your brother and your girlfriend, are they close or something? And Kevin's like, not really. She's come over to my house twice, and they've talked a little bit, but, and Ben's like, well, I don't know. They're just talking a lot right now. It's kind of weird. It's just a little weird. I don't know. Maybe it's not. And Kevin's like, well, I appreciate you looking out for me. But look, that's my brother, that's my girlfriend. They probably are just talking about me or something, talking about how I'm such an idiot or some kind of conversation like that. That's pretty standard affair. I appreciate you coming over and making sure everything was okay though. You're a good host, Ben. Go back and have fun. And Ben's like, okay, sure. Your wish is my command. I'll go back and have fun. So Kevin doesn't really think anything of that at all. And he goes back around and he's talking to his friends, and, life is good for about another hour. And that's when Ben comes up to him again. And it looks like Ben saw a freaking ghost. His face is all white and freaked out. And Kevin's like, bro, what happened? And Ben's like, dude, and Kevin's like, bro, spit it out. Just tell me, what do you need help with? And Kevin's like, or Ben's like, and Kevin's like, dude, come on, you're starting to worry me. And Ben turns to one of the friends next to Kevin. He's like, can I talk to you for a second? And, Kevin turns to his friend. He's like, dude, what? And his friend's like, dude, I'll figure out what's going on with Ben. I'll be right back. So Ben takes Kevin's friend aside, and he's whispering to him.
And Kevin's friend, who he's talking to, his like mouth is like just drops. And Kevin's like, bro, spit it out. Tell me, why do you need to go around telling other, like, this is, so Ben and the friend come back, and the friend's like, ooh. And Kevin's like, bro, spit it out. Is it really that hard? Just tell me what's good. And, the friend is like, okay. So what Ben thinks he saw, and then Ben like speaks up. He's like, fine, like this is weird, but I don't know. I just I just need to talk to someone about this. And Kevin's like, what? He's like, I don't know. There's a rumor that, your girlfriend was going around making out with this guy. And Kevin's like, what? And Ben's like, dude, and the rumor is it was Mike, your brother. And Kevin then starts laughing. He's like, all right, man, I don't know who's like peddling these rumors, but that's comical. That's freaking comical. Look, I know my brother. If I have a girl, like we got a bro code, right? If we're in a relationship, they're not going to sneak in. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, we have a home together. We need to share a house for at least the next year till we go off to college. He's not going to want that like terrible energy. He's not going to want to disrupt the family just for like a peck on the cheek. No, that's ridiculous. And like Ben and like is like, dude, I don't know. There wasn't one person who told me that. Like, it was multiple people. Like, the first person that told me, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But then more people started telling me that there's, like, a video going around, too, and that I don't even know. And Kevin's like, all right, well, I appreciate you, like, coming here and, like, tell me about this rumor. I will figure it out, and I will, stomp the rumor out. It's not true. I can tell you that. I'm just going to go find Sarah or Mike and talk to them, and they're going to find it ridiculous. So Kevin, starts walking around. He starts checking from room to goes in the backyard, the pool area. There's a ton of people out there just having a good time. He looks around, and for the life of him, he can't find Sarah or Mike. He goes upstairs, starts looking through, and while he, isn't supposed to be going through, like, the bedrooms or whatever, sometimes you got to check that, hey, man, people do people things. Checking the bedrooms, nothing's in there. He's like, wow, like, did these, like, where are they? So he sends a text to Mike. He's like, yo, where you at? And Mike responds almost right away, home. And Kevin's like, dude, it's like 11:30. Why do you leave early? He's like, just did. And he's like, okay. He sends a text to Sarah saying, hey. And Sarah doesn't respond. And after like 5 minutes, Kevin calls Sarah and it rings out and she doesn't respond. And he's like, what? Like, this is really weird. So Kevin, like, goes back downstairs. He finds Ben, the host of the party. He's like, dude, I don't think Kevin or Mike are here. And Ben's like, bro, I hate to be the guy, but, like, I'm hearing more and more. Apparently there's, like, a video going around. I don't know. And Kevin's like, bro, okay, look, it didn't happen. I guess I can, like, tell you a bit. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but it just didn't happen. Like, I know my brother. I know my girlfriend, like, she can be a little shady sometimes, but the two of them, I know them both well enough that did not happen. Whatever video was probably some girl that looked like my girlfriend and someone who looked like my brother. Look, my girlfriend has blonde hair. My brother has brown hair. You have two faces into each other. You just see blonde hair and brown hair. People are going to come up with things, right? She's a popular girl in the school. I'm a guy on the football team. That would be scandalous. Of course they'd want to make that something, right? It's definitely not. I appreciate you coming to me, but, I don't know. Maybe I should just go home. I mean, Mike is back home. I'm just going to go talk to him there. I'm going to tell him about this ridiculous rumor. We'll probably have a few laughs over it, maybe play a few rounds of COD or something, and just call it a night. Like, you're having a great party. I don't want to kill the vibe. I think I'm just going to leave. And Ben's like, all right, man, well, if anything actually happens, like, I'll be sure to hit you up. I'll be sure that you're the first one that I would tell. I agree with you. This seems pretty unlikely, but I've just been told by so many people. It's just really weird, man. Kevin's like, and once again, I appreciate that, right? Have a good party. Keep being a host. Thanks for having me over. I'm going to go back home. So Kevin gets in his car, and he just has a weird vibe. Because, I mean, yes, he doesn't believe that it's even possible that his girlfriend or his brother would do anything like this at all. But he's just kind of like, I don't know. So many people start saying stuff. He's like, you think you know people, but you never really know. But Kevin's like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, first of all, if there's a video, why didn't Ben get it? If everyone says that there's a video, why didn't anyone show Ben? Because if Ben saw the video, he would have told me. So this is ridiculous.
So Kevin drives back home, pulls into the parking garage, pulls into like kind of the parking lot, gets out, and sees the light in his brother's room still on, or is on. So he, opens the door, goes inside, his parents are like, how's it going? And Kevin's like, oh, pretty good. I'm just back. And they're like, you're back early, because Kevin's like, I'm going to be gone for a while. He's like, yeah, I don't know. Wasn't feeling it tonight. And they're like, all right, well, just let us know if you want to do anything, or we're going to be going to bed soon if you need anything, son. And he's like, no, I'm pretty good. So Kevin goes upstairs, goes into his room, throws his like wallet and keys or whatever into his room, and then goes over to Mike's room and knocks on the door. And Mike opens it. He's like, yo, what's up? And Kevin's like, so, hey, there's just this funny thing I wanted to tell you about. And Mike looks like visibly nervous. And that made Kevin feel weird. He's like, why is my brother geeking out right now? That makes absolutely no sense. This is weird. This is making me uncomfortable, but whatever. He's geeking out for some reason, but fine. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just worried about stuff. So he goes in, and he's like, dude, Mike, you're not going to believe this. Ben came up to me, and he says that all of these people have claimed to see you and my girlfriend making out, right? And that there's a video going around. And Kevin's like, yeah, it's the craziest thing ever. I thought it was pretty funny, and I'd tell you about it. And Kevin just looks at Mike's face, and Mike is not making eye contact with him. And that's immediately when Kevin knew that something was messed up, that something was wrong. Because his brother was not making eye contact. I mean, I don't make eye contact with people all the time, right? But his brother was avoiding eye contact. He was minimal response. And then Kevin is kind of like, that's just a story, right? That's just like a little funny rumor going around. And Mike looks up. And when they make eye contact, Kevin knows for a fact it is not a rumor, it is not a joke, and it was legit. And Kevin doesn't say anything. Because he's just like, oh my. Like, there's no way. And Mike's like, bro, like, I didn't want you to find out like this. Like, I know that, like, you and Sarah broke up 2 months ago, and it's still tough. And, like, even if you have been broken up for years, I should have never done anything with her. Look, I broke the bro code, even though you guys aren't dating anymore, and it's been a little while. I shouldn't have done anything. That's on me. I don't know how to make it up to you. And Kevin's like, wait, broke up? Mike's like, yeah, you and Sarah broke up 2 months ago. And Mike's like, oh, says who? And Mike's like, says Sarah. Oh, says Sarah. And Kevin and Mike just look at each other. And Kevin's like, so you did make out with Sarah at the party? Mike's like, I did, but even though it was still wrong, I thought that you guys had broken up. Even though that would still be messed up, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I was not thinking straight, She came on to me. She was very, not aggressive, but she was insistent, right? And I thought that, like, oh, well, you guys have broken up, so it doesn't matter, but it still matters. And Kevin's like, bro, we've not broken up. She's not broken up with me. I've not broken up with her. And Mike's like, she's told me for 2 months. She told me 2 months ago you guys broke up. And she reminded me today that you guys have been completely broken up and are pretty separate. Kevin's like, what? And Kevin texts his friend Ben. And he's like, hey, Ben, like, I just talked to my brother. It was true. Does anyone else think that Sarah and I have broken up? So Ben calls him. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. And he's like, I don't even want to hear about it. I just want to know answers. And Kevin's like, Ben, I need you to ask around if people think Sarah and I have broken up or not. So Ben is like, all right. Gets back to him like 15 minutes later. He's like, dude, every single person I've talked to hasn't heard a single thing about this quote-unquote breakup. Dude, you guys broke up? Is that why she was kissing your brother? And Kevin's like, no, we have not broken up yet. But she told my brother that, she did. And, Kevin looks at Mike. He's like, dude, I don't know if I can trust you on that. Like, did she really say that? Or are you just saying that to save face? And Mike's like, dude, it was messed up no matter what I did. But I would never do it if I thought you were still in a relationship. It was messed up in general because you were in a relationship before. And I'm sure that's breaking bro code. And I'm sorry. And we'll always have a bit of tension over that. But I did not do it because, like, I would never do it if I thought you were in a relationship and that I thought that I could harm that relationship. You got to believe me on this. And Kevin just looks at Mike and he's like, bro, I do.
If I find out you're lying here, it's done. And Mike's like, that's totally fair, man. That's totally fair. Kevin's like, damn. And Kevin just is like, all right, I need some time in my room. Mike's like, all right, just let me know. So Kevin goes back to his room, just sits in his chair, and just is thinking right now. Because right now, right, yes, his girlfriend of 4 years just, decided to make out with his brother. And she was the one that was pushing it, and she was the one who told him, and only him, that they broke up 2 years ago. And then immediately Kevin's like, oh no, there's a video apparently? So he calls up Ben again, and it's like 1 in. Ben's like, yo, what's up? He's like, hey, do you know anything else about that video? And Ben's like, yeah, bad news. Like, apparently, like, that girl, Stacy. And Kevin's like, yeah, Sarah's annoying friend. Yeah. He's like, dude, she filmed the whole thing. She was like giggling or whatever. She put it on Snapchat. Dude, that thing was screen recorded so many times. It's sent around everywhere. Like, bro, it's bad. Kevin's like, there's no way. Like, there's no way, dude. Like, why me? What did I do? Why? Right? So immediately Kevin's like, all right, well, let me just text Sarah. Let me just get her side on this because I don't know what side she could have had. But yeah, let me figure out what her side is. And, Kevin goes on Snapchat to go see, like, is she on? Was she on like a minute ago or something? And he sees on one of these girls' private stories that he happens to be like kind of friends with in his class. He clicks in. It was the video. That video was spreading like crazy. It was ridiculous. And, Kevin watched it like 20 times. And it was heartbreaking every single time. It didn't get easier. In fact, every time it probably got worse because the first few times it felt like, oh, well, this isn't a real thing. But no, it was 100% real. And Kevin's just sat there and like put down his phone for a second. It's like, do I even really want to know why? Like, do I even want to like, should I just like send a text saying, yo, we're done and just never talk to her again? Or do I want to like put myself through figuring out why and then breaking up with her because this is ridiculous? Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Kevin down below. I don't normally use the names from the stories as the secret word, but today we are, so comment Kevin if you made it this far into the video. And if you want to support the channel and help the channel out, all you got to do is at some point, maybe after this video or maybe later when you're playing a video game, drawing some artwork, or maybe when you're about to go to sleep and you need help going to sleep, sit down and watch a bunch of these videos, maybe 2 of these videos, 3, 4, 5, however many videos in a row. And make sure to go down and comment down below what you do while you watch these videos. And also, how many videos have you watched today? I really want to know. I'll heart a bunch of comments. I'll reply to a bunch saying thank you. And just a big thank you to everyone for supporting the channel recently. I got a bit of an upgrade in the gear I'm using. I got a better phone. I make my videos on my phone. Mic's a little bit better. I think we're doing 1080p for most of my videos instead of 720. The gameplay isn't looped anymore. We're getting somewhere. Anyways, let's get back to the story. Things only continue to get crazier, so make sure to stick around. So anyways, Kevin calls up Ben, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and Ben's like, yo, what's up? And Kevin's like, hey, like, is your party kind of done? He's like, yeah, everyone's gone. I'm just cleaning up. Kevin's like, can I come over? And Ben's like, dude, like, the party's done. He's like, no, just like you and me talking. And Ben's like, oh, yeah, no, of course, come over, man. So anyways, Kevin, walks downstairs, and his dad's like getting a glass of water. He's like, you're going out now? And Kevin's like, yeah, I got some stuff I got to deal with. Don't worry, I'll be back, not doing anything bad. And Kevin's dad's like, all right, I trust you. Good grades, you're a good kid, like, whatever. Kevin gets in his car, drives over to Ben's house, walks into Ben, like, the front door, is greeted by Ben. There's a bunch of, like, trash everywhere, red Solo cups broken all over the place, whatever, a bunch of garbage, whatever, right? He's cleaning up. And Kevin's like, all right, well, I need some advice. We got to talk about this. So Kevin fills in Ben the part of the story that Ben doesn't already know. And, Ben is like, dude, that's messed up. And Kevin's like, I don't know why that happened. I don't know why, out of the blue, instead of breaking up with me first, she decides to convince my brother that we broke up and then seduce him, right? And then she must have known that her friend was taking a video. In fact, I don't think her friend would have taken a video and posted it without her explicit, not just consent, but, her telling her to do so. Kevin's like, this is the mastermind work of Sarah, bro. I've been telling you for a while that she's been getting meaner and meaner and meaner. And bro, this is like the amalgamation of all that meanness and cruelness. And why? Why? What did I do? Look, I'm not the perfect boyfriend. We get in a fight sometimes, but I'm fine. I don't do anything. I've never cheated on her. I don't even have that many friendships with girls anymore because I didn't want her to think of anything like that. And Ben's like, dude, this is like a shock to me as well. And Ben's like, bro, look, I know it's going to be easier for you to just say we're done and move on with it. But I know for a fact that long term, you're always going to wonder. You're going to want to know why, and it's going to suck now. But trust me, future you will be happy that you did it. You need to ask her why. So all of a sudden, Kevin's like, all right, fine. Yeah, okay. You're right. I'm going to call her. So Kevin calls Sarah's phone. Once again, no response. And Ben's like, dude, she's probably not up. It's 1 a.m. But, you probably have to, confront her tomorrow. So, Kevin goes back home and, he gets into his bed and he just can't really fall asleep for an hour. He's just sitting there thinking about literally everything, replaying everything that has ever happened with him and Sarah. And also towards the end of it, starting to feel like, remembering the good moments, man. Remembering not just all the moments where, her personality slowly devolved into what it is now, or all the fights and disagreements, or all the times that he didn't feel like, this was a relationship he wanted to be in. Instead, he was thinking about the very end of 8th grade, where the two of them, after being friends for a while, decided to take it the next step, decided to kind of be the power couple of the grade, and started freshman year, with a bang. That summer before freshman year was one of the greatest summers of his life. It was the first time really having a real-time girlfriend, having someone else in his life to lean off of, to grow, to be a bigger, different, better person. And, he remembers, there was an ice cream place that they used to always go to. And they didn't really go to it last summer, and they went to it less the summer before, and slightly more, but still less than the first summer 3 summers ago. So every summer they go to the place less and less. And when he woke up the next day, he texted Sarah, meet me at the ice cream spot. The place that they used to go to all the time, right? The place he used to go to all the time when they were first dating, right? And Sarah responds to him, she responds, I'm not doing anything a cheater says. And Kevin's like, what? Me? So anyways, he responds back. He said, that's hilarious. That's really rich coming from you. And Sarah says, that video of me and your brother making out is going everywhere. Everyone's going to see it. Everyone's going to see you humiliated by your own brother, right? Your girlfriend, the power couple, right? You know what? Yeah, you weren't good enough, and I went for your brother. And Kevin literally responds why? And Sarah's like, just to make things even. Don't think I don't know about Claire. Kevin's like, what? He literally responds, what? He's like, Claire confided in me 2 months ago that you and her have had a secret fling for the last 2 years. I knew that something was up for a while, but when I heard that, I knew that I needed to get my revenge, and I got it. And Kevin is like, Claire? What? So Claire was a friend of Sarah's, right? They were kind of friends, right? And Kevin really only had one interaction with her. When she was hanging out with Sarah, they had a nice little conversation or whatever. So Kevin is like, what? So Kevin actually still has one kind of female friend, because he had to cut off most of them when he's with Sarah, because, he didn't want her to be jealous or anything. So he hits up that friend, and we're going to call her Kate. And, he hits up Kate. He's like, dude, I'm in a crazy situation. Can you call? So he calls her up. He explains everything. And the thing is, Kate is actually somewhat friends with Claire, or at least knows people who are good friends with Claire. And so he's like, hey, I don't know, trust me, I did not cheat on my girlfriend with Claire. I've spoken to her once. This is ridiculous. So Kate's like, yeah, sure, I can get back to you in a little bit. So 2 hours later, Kate texts with all caps, pick up the phone. So Kevin's like, shoot, okay. There's 4 missed calls. He calls her back. Kate explains that, Kate went to one of her good friends who happened to be friends with Kate. And that friend that is friends with Kate confronted Kate on this And Kate kind of confessed to everything. Kate had two motives for lying to Sarah. Because yes, no, Kevin and Kate had never had a fling at all. But Kate had two motives to lie to Sarah. The first motive is that she didn't like, how Sarah's attitude was changing and kind of the position of power she had. And that she thought that, if she toppled their relationship, Sarah and Kevin, that there would be a power vacuum and that she would basically be able to fill it. The second thing is that she didn't want to fill it alone, the high school queen and king, whatever power vacuum. She, in only one conversation, basically fell in love with Sarah's boyfriend, Kevin, and thought that if she could split them up, that she could truly then seduce him, and then she would be the queen of the high school for the rest of the year, as well as have Kevin be her power couple. And Kevin is bro, this is freaking high school. Literally, who cares? But Kate's dude, I'm so sorry, this is ridiculous. And Kevin's all right, well, do you have that can your friend talk to Sarah and be my witness that's true? And Kate's yeah, it might take a little bit of convincing, but I think that can happen. So anyways, right, Monday rolls around, they go back to school, and they don't have recess anymore, but they have a break period. So Kevin texts Sarah saying, we need to talk. And he said, let's meet up in person, let's not do this over text. And she says, fine, but on my terms. Kevin's all right. And Sarah says, we have to discuss everything, and you have to apologize for cheating. And he said, we'll discuss everything when we get there. He didn't say that he'd apologize to cheating, but he was bringing it. He was anything to get her in person. Kate was able to get her friend that was friends with Claire to go with Kevin and to walk over with them, right? So Kevin, Sarah, and this friend, right? We're going to call her Kate's friend, all sit down. And Sarah's oh, so you already have a new girlfriend? Kevin's no. Kate's friend, do you want to speak? Kate's friend tells Sarah everything. And Kevin watches as Sarah's face turns from smugness to horror, basically, as she realizes that she's been snaked by one of her close friends for a power move. This is 17th century kings, sons of kings trying to fight who gets power, right? This is ridiculous stuff. And Sarah turns to Kevin and is I had no idea. And Kevin's of course you had no idea. You wouldn't have acted on it if you did. And Sarah's well, then, I guess we can all put this behind us. And Kevin's whoa, Lois, this is not my Batman cup. No, he's whoa, hold on now. Chill out. We can put this behind us? I don't know about that. Because while it is proven now that I did not have a thing with Claire, your friend that I spoke to once, there's not only proof, but video evidence that you had a thing with my brother. And you chose my brother because you knew it would hurt more than a random person. It would hurt more than even my closest friend. And Sarah's just kind of looking at him. And Kevin is Sarah, it has been 4 years. It has been a great, terrible, wonderful, horrible experience. It has been everything. He says, Sarah, to you 4 years ago when we first met, I am sorry that we have failed you. He says, Sarah, to you now, I wish you the best in life. Kevin gets up. And Sarah's what do you think you're doing? What do you think we're doing? We still have fall, we still have winter, we still have spring. We only have 2 more semesters. We've gone 4 years, and you're going to end it on this? This is how you're ending it? And Kevin said, I wasn't the one to end anything, Sarah. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't the one to choose to do any of this. Kevin just walks away. The aftermath is Kevin, and Sarah, and they break up. There's a whole ton of bickering going on with Sarah and Claire and a lot of infighting. But Kevin doesn't even pay attention to any of that. He doesn't involve himself, and he doesn't even know what happened because he doesn't care. All Kevin cares about is finishing up, a really good high school football year, applying to colleges. He got into one he wanted to, and having a good time with his friends. And, he had no more relationships or anything like that. And by the end of the year, when they were having their kind of last moments as a class, you know, Sarah went up to him and, you know, and Kevin's like, hello there. They had not spoken really since that day for like months. They had like seen each other and kind of like nodded or something. And, you know, Sarah was like, didn't say sorry, didn't say anything like that. Sarah just went up to him and said, do you remember at the end of 8th grade, you know, when you asked me out? And Kevin's like, yeah, no, I do remember that. And Sarah's like, you remember how, you know, you started choking on something midway through asking me out? Kevin's like, bro, that's embarrassing. Sarah's like, I know, that's why I'm saying it. And you remember that ice cream place we used to go to? And Kevin was like getting really wistful at this point. He's like, yeah, Sarah, that was the best summer I've ever had. Sarah was like, me too. Sorry it went down the way it did. And Kevin's like, I'm sorry it did too. He said, hey, have fun in college. Like, I'm sure you'll have a good time on the East Coast. And Sarah's like, well, have fun down south, you know. I heard it's pretty warm down there, but, you know, stay in touch with me. Kevin and Sarah did not stay in touch, but that's just how things happen when you say stay in touch with me with people. Just a little life lesson. Most of the people in high school at the very last day, you'll say, stay in touch with me. Oh, we're going to be best friends. No, you won't. You'll stay in touch with like 3 or 4 people. Kevin and Sarah are not close friends anymore. They're, you know, they follow each other on Instagram or something at this point. But their lives, which were so close together for a while, they just never cross paths again. I mean, look, this happened like a couple of years ago. They could easily cross paths again, but you understand what I'm saying. And, you know, Kevin, he's in college now. You know, he's got a girlfriend who doesn't care about nonsense and is not going to cheat on him with his brother. Kevin and Mike kind of mended their relationship the summer before Kevin and Mike went off to college. There's always going to be, like, you can't change what happened in the past, but they're doing much better now. And, you know, Kevin submitted the story to me, and he thought
Click
it'd be
on
an
the video
interesting
on
one to
screen
tell.
right now. I know
agree.
you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of a spoiled kid who is basically just chirping kids in class the entire time. He spends the entire time chirping kids for being poor. However, thankfully, there is karma in this situation. As always, or not as always, but in good stories, the spoiled kid gets the karma he deserves. When the girl he likes overhears him saying this stuff, and let's just say it gets pretty crazy. So sit back, relax, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Brendan. So anyways, in Brendan's class, it is his first period history class. There's this kid who we're going to call the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid had parents with a lot of disposable income. And that doesn't necessarily make you a spoiled kid at all, really. I mean, you might be like spoiled with like good stuff or whatever, but if you are genuinely a good person and you understand that your circumstances are not a product of your, I don't know, your ingenuity or your, your hard work, and then let it all go to your head, as long as you're a good, decent person who understands that, you just won the RNG luck lottery, then we're cool. We're genuinely cool if you're a good person. However, if you're like the spoiled kid in this story, then you and I, we got some problems, bro. We got a few problems. And so, yeah, this all started on what seemed like a normal day, as these stories always tend to start, when Brendan was in history class. This was the first day of history class in 8th grade. So he gets in there, sits towards the back of the room, as this was just Brendan's preference for where he would sit, right? He kind of liked the back of the room. Look, I pay attention in class, mostly, and I just also happen to like the back of the room. I kind of like the bird's eye perspective, being able to see everyone. It just makes sense to me. But anyways, Brendan was sitting there, and then this kid came into class. He was wearing the Supreme Box t-shirt, which if you don't know, goes for like $500 to $1,000 or something. He was wearing Gucci shoes, like the most blatant Gucci shoes, not like ones that are like, oh, those look nice, and then you see a little Gucci label, you're like, okay. It's the ones that just have the big Gucci logo on them. Bro, I don't know about you, but personally, I've never understood the big logos. I always feel like a little logo maybe, or just like have it be good quality if you're going to drop some money on it. Just have it look nice, bro. You don't need a big logo, bro. And he came in, and he sits down. He's like, what's up, guys? And kind of looks around, like my intros to my YouTube videos. No, I'm just kidding. But he's like, what's up, everyone? Like, my name's Spoiled Kid. And Brendan looks over. He's like, what's good? My name's Brendan. Some other kids are saying hello. And, like, Brendan goes over to shake his hand or, like, dap him up or whatever they're going to do. And the Spoiled Kid's like, no, thank you. I don't know where those hands have been. And Brendan's just like, dude, what? Like, I'm not like a filthy person. He's like, I don't know. Those shoes say otherwise. And he looks down and look, Brendan's not wearing the nicest, cleanest, fresh out of the box, fresh off the shelf type shoes. But at the same time, bro, they're just a standard pair of shoes. I don't know why he's hating so hard. Why are you hating on my guy like that? But anyways, Brendan is like, okay, this kid's a little weird or whatever. And things would only get worse. So about a weekend, this kid can't, they all go into, first period history class again. And this boy little kid sits down, and he just, he looks at Brendan. He's like, yo, dude. And Brendan's like, what's up? He's like, bro, you're such an NPC.
Are you supposed to have blood come out of your asshole?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty common, man. I wouldn't worry about it. I think my friend has a problem. Anyways, where were we last? Yes. I'm going to have to edit that, bro. Anyways, so he sits down, and the spoiled kid looks at Brendan. He's like, dude, you're such an NPC. And, Brendan's like, bro, what are you saying? He's like, yeah, you're such an NPC, bro. Because, I looked up your house on Google. It was only, $50,000. And at this point, Brendan's like, dude, what? It's a solid house. I got a bed. I got a couch with a TV. Sure, it's not 10 floors, stories tall, bro. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? And, Brendan was just kind of looking at him. And the spoiled kid was like, bro, you're such an NPC for being poor right now. You're such an NPC. And everyone's like, dude, what does that even mean? What are you even trying to say? He's like, bro, you guys wouldn't understand it too, because by the looks of your shoes, you're literally an NPC right now, bro. I don't know what to say. At this point, Brendan's like, looks like someone found the NPC meme. How unfortunate. So anyways, the next day comes in, or a little while later, because if you don't know, this story is very recent. Very recently, there's been a lot of hate on my boy Ohio. My boy's the state Ohio. I've never been. It probably sucks. I'm not gonna lie. But look, it's not the worst. And I don't know if you've ever been in any TikTok comment section or just any comment section. Whenever something is terrible, right? Whenever something is terrible, it's like most normal X in Ohio. So the spoiled kid must have found out about the Ohio meme. Because Brendan comes in a little while later. And this is couple weeks ago. This story's actually pretty recent. And he sits down, and the spoiled kid's like, bro, is that a stain on your shirt? And Brendan looks down, he's like, oh, crap, I forgot I didn't wash this load or whatever. He's like, yeah. He's like, bro, typical most rich person in Ohio, guys. Am I right? He, turns around and, looks at people. He's like, guys, do you get the joke? I'm saying he's the most rich person in Ohio because he's super poor. And they're all just looking at him like, bro, I'm gonna need you to shut up real quick, bro. Please. Come on now, please. You don't need to go down like this, man. Because, this guy's reputation has been crumbling over the last month. Because they started class in September. It's now October. And this kid has been making, for the entire month, offhand comments about how poor everyone else is and how they're an NPC, or oh my god, bro, look at those shoes, you're such a bot, lol, or just I've spent 7 minutes trying to explain how annoying the spoiled kid has been. This isn't even the meat of the story. I just think it's necessary for me to spend all this time to explain to you guys why this kid is so annoying and why he deserves what he's about to get, right? So anyways, spoiled kid's like, yeah, Brendan over here is the richest person in Ohio, meaning he's not rich at all. And at this point, everyone is super fed up with this kid. They're all kind of giving him sideways looks of bro, first of all, jokes about someone else's socioeconomic status, especially in situations where they have literally no control. And also you have no control over yours as well. It just doesn't seem look, I'm not saying jokes I'm not being the joke police here, but jokes are better when they're on something someone can control than something they can't control. There are situations where jokes on something that people can control aren't good. There are just sometimes jokes where things people can't control can be funny. I'm just saying, generally, I'm seeing the jokes about things that people can control are a little bit better, a little bit tamer, a little bit more broadly acceptable, right? Second of all, he's been making the same joke for the last month. Sure, at first he says, oh, Brendan is such a bot. Brendan is such an NPC because his shoes are like lame or whatever. But look, and now he's saying, oh, Brendan, you must be the richest person in Ohio. Look, the joke every single time, every single day, this kid is making the same joke about how Brendan is so poor because he's a bot NPC and from Ohio. Like, bro, at a certain point, it just isn't funny anymore. Like, it wasn't funny in the first place. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't funny in the first place. But at a certain point, it just isn't funny at all. Especially, like, even if it was a really clever joke, I don't know if you guys... Okay, some jokes, it's funny because it's so unfunny how much you say them, and that's the punchline. But I'm sure you guys know that person. Maybe that kid in your class who just makes the same joke again and again. Because the first time, it was kind of clever. You heard it and you're like, oh, he probably definitely ripped that from someone else. Like, that kid's an idiot. No way he actually could have come up with that. But funny joke, nevertheless. Like, okay, cool. And then he says it every single day. Even when people don't respond anymore. People just pretend like they don't hear this kid. I don't know if you have this kid. I definitely know a few like this. People just start pretending like they didn't even hear him say anything because it's just so annoying. You're just like, bro, it wasn't that funny the first time. It's not that funny the second time. And let me just say, it's not funnier the 300th time you said that joke, right? So this is what the spoiled kid was doing. So after class that day, after he made the Ohio joke, I was about to call him Wallace. That was the subscriber in the last story. Brendan and a bunch of other kids in his class, right? They come together. Or like one kid comes over to Brendan and be like, hey, we're talking about the spoiled kid. Like, you want to come with us? And it's basically all the kids who kind of sit in the middle / back of the class. And they're all coming together because they just find this kid so absolutely annoying that they had to they had to come together to basically find a way to humble him, right? I've actually had an experience like that. Someone in a class a long time ago was acting so poorly that the entire grade got together. I tried to be as neutral as possible because I was a little bit... No, just kidding. They all came together to try and overthrow this person because they suck so bad, apparently. I'm not even kidding. This happened to me. Maybe I'll tell the story someday, but... Anyways, right? They all come together after class. They're just like, bro... This kid needs to be humbled. First of all, jokes aren't funny the 100th time, but also the jokes are just calling us poor. Because the thing is, they weren't just calling Brendan poor. He was calling all of them poor. And they're just like, dude, first of all, we're fairly middle class. Like, we have a house. We're able to have, like, we have more than one pair of shoes. Like, a lot of kids are barely rocking one, you know? I got two. That's pretty nice. I'm happy with that. Like, I'm very lucky for that. We're not even, like, that poor. And even if we were, that would actually make it worse, right? The fact that he thinks that makes it worse. And, at this point, they were just like, all right, we got to humble this kid. So Brendan is like, okay, do we know anything about this kid, right? And they're like, okay, we know his parents do pretty well, but I'll actually ask around. So one other kid in that group of kids who kind of came together to try and overthrow Brendan or whatever, we're going to call him Ben. Anyway, so Ben went around and he was kind of just talking to people, be like, hey, do you know anything about whatever, right? And one of Ben's friends, who's a girl, says, oh, actually, I do. The spoiled kid has been trying to get with my friend for the longest time. She has no interest, but she hasn't had the heart to say anything, right? And so basically the spoiled kid has been flirting. And by flirting, I mean legitimately being like, hey, let's come up with a name for her. Dude, I'm just going to call her Audrey. I use the name either Kate or Audrey. I just think of people from my kindergarten class. Hey, Audrey, I just want to know if you wanted to take a ride on my whip this Friday. She'd be like, no, I'm busy. She's like, she doesn't have the heart to say, no, I'm not doing that, bro. She's always like, no, I got something to do. I'm sorry. Instead of being like, no, I hate you. because she feels bad. So with this information, Brendan is like, thank you. Do you know anything about the spoiled kid? And, the girl that Ben was talking to was like, well, I mean, I'm not really a fan. From what I've heard, he kind of sucks. And Ben explains to her that he's been tormenting the class that he's in, first period history with Brendan, for the last month, and they need to find a way to humble him. And so, the girl's like, okay, I can think of some stuff. It's going to be a little bit mean, but I definitely have an idea. So she tells Ben the plan, and Ben's like, wow, that's tough. But also, maybe we're just teaching him a life lesson at this point. So anyways, Ben goes back to the group, and Brendan, or they kind of meet up at some point, maybe text message, maybe IRL, doesn't really matter. And Ben explains exactly what they're going to do. So it's going to go something along the lines of this. They're going to use the girl Audrey, right, who the spoiled kid has a crush on. And to get her, right, they're going to basically get her to blow this kid's heart up. I know it sounds bad, but please remember that he's been calling them bots, NPCs, and residents of Ohio because they've been poor, relative to his $3 trillion a month allowance because he woke up every day, every single day in class for the last month. So they just need to ego check him a little bit, right? So the plan is they're going to get Audrey to basically firmly say no. And they're not only going to get her to firmly say no, they're going to get her to explain exactly why she says no. And they're not only going to get her to firmly explain why she exactly says no, they're also going to get her to say it in front of everyone, basically. Because they're going to somehow convince the spoiled kid, right? This is kind of devious, right? This is a little mean. They're going to convince the spoiled kid that he should ask Audrey out at lunch because they all ate lunch in a cafeteria. So he's going to make a big scene about it, and she's going to say it loud enough that people will hear and word will spread. I know this is devious. Comment down below if you think this is justified or not. Because I don't know if it is, but also, I don't know. I'm trying to be impartial here. This is a little extreme, but this kid hasn't been good either. So anyways, next day in class is when the plan is slowly set into motion. So the spoiled kid sits down. He's like, yo, Brendan, you're so from Ohio right now because, you probably don't have a lot of disposable income. I don't know if it was that stupid, but it was, something really lame. And Brandon's like, haha, okay. Hey, man. I heard you got a thing for Audrey. He's like, how did you know? Do you love her? Is she dating you? I will fight you to the death to date her. And Brendan's just like, yo, dude, chill for a second. I'm here to help you. Biggest lie of the century, but whatever, right? He's like, dude, I got some insider information. I got the insider scoop that she has the hots for you, dude. And he's like, oh my God, I totally knew it. I knew that telling her about my whip every single day for a month would totally get her to love me. And in Brennan's head, he's like, wait, you asked her every single day for the last month if she wanted to go on a car ride with you? Do you think maybe the fact that every single day she had a different excuse may or may not have indicated that maybe, just maybe, this is crazy, maybe this is a hypothetical, man. Don't take my word for it. But maybe she's not interested. I know, crazy of me to say something. I should really check myself because that is definitely not the case. She is absolutely and unequivocally in love with you at the greatest proportion. There's no question about it. I know I'm an absolute, I'm the crazy person here. I'm insane, right? I'm sorry for even questioning his authority on this. But yeah, Brendan's like, man, I should totally ask her out. Spoiled kid says that. And Brendan's like, oh, actually, I have the perfect time. So I was actually talking with her friend, and she said that Audrey would really like to be asked out today. He's like, oh my God, should I do it after class? He said, no, wait till lunch. She doesn't want you to ask before lunch. He's like, why that specific? And he's like, dude, just trust me this one. Remember, very devious. Leave in the comments down below if you think this is right or wrong, because I don't know. Be the moral police down there. Anyways, and he's like, no. Gotta do it at lunch, and it's gotta be a big gesture. If you just go over to her and be like, hey, I really like talking to you. Do you want to make this a little more serious? She's going to hate that. She's going to say no, and she's going to start kissing a bunch of ladies instead of guys at this point. You're going to scare her off from guys forever. What you really want to do is you need to make a really big scene. You need to flex all your money and flex all the things that you could give to her and make sure everybody in the cafeteria is paying attention. Brendan almost, like this is, which is like, it's hilarious because Brendan is giving him the opposite of the good advice, right? In reality, look, okay, you're taking an expert from someone who's not an expert. You're taking advice from someone who's not an expert. I literally clowned people in the last video I posted like 3 hours ago. Like, oh yeah, people with no play are always giving the most advice. So take this with a grain of salt. But in my observations, not necessarily my vast experience in the subject matter, you're probably going to want to do option one of just very discreetly but confidently and saying it forcefully, right? That like you've enjoyed spending time together and you want to take it to the next level. And maybe I'm wrong here. I mean, I'm not the expert, clearly. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you don't want to make a massive scene and flex all your parents' money to get her to fall in love with you and date you. Maybe. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I could be very wrong. I'm not the expert here, right? So anyways, the spoiled kid agrees 100%. He's like, dude, oh my God, you are so right. I know exactly what I'm going to do. So Brendan's like, cool. They sit down, class continues, and his friend leans over to him and is like, dude, you're such a jerk. And he says it laughingly because he's in on it as well. And Brendan's like, he's got it coming. If anything, I'm just doing him a favor. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. It's a lot of people are going to guess the secret word, but I've been doing them a little bit farther into the videos just because one of these days for a spoiled kid video, I'm going to say comment hat down below, and I'm going to catch all you people that are commenting spoiled without watching all the way. But in the meantime, collect your free hearts by commenting that down below. Just so you're aware, these videos are on Spotify. The shorts are on TikTok. Submit your own stories, because this is a subscriber submitted story, to my Instagram or Twitter DMs. You need to be following me. Those are in the description. And finally, the best thing you can do to support the channel and help grow the community by pushing these videos out farther in the algorithm is finish watching this video all the way to the end. And then when you're done with it, the best thing you can do is watch another one of my story videos, which you can look on the sidebar, YouTube recommended. But a really easy way is my Storytime playlist, which is in the pinned comment down below. Enough promos or whatever. I mean, leave a like for your free nothing, of course, but let's just jump right back into it. So anyways, it's officially lunchtime. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. So Brendan is sitting down with his friends, and they made sure that they were going to sit down near Audrey, and they briefed Audrey on everything. They told, because look, Audrey is a good-hearted girl. So they needed to explain to her in great detail why what she is doing is morally the right thing. They needed to explain to her, right? They basically had to explain to Audrey that, exactly what this kid was doing, that this kid's ego was really puffed up by something that really wasn't going to help him in the future, aka bragging about how much his parents make, because that will not help you at all, especially further on you get in life. It's not just a detriment to him socially now, it will be later on. And the fact that she will strike him down for flexing too hard will actually give him such an important life lesson that he will probably thank all of them later on and take them all out to a fancy dinner. Sure, was Brendan kind of sugarcoating the situation? Was he kind of manipulating it a little bit to be like, you would be morally doing the wrong thing if you didn't do this? Yeah, maybe Audrey was not the girl who thought about things the hardest, and she kind of just went along with anything that sounded correct. Sure, these are all possibilities, but what matters are the facts. And the facts are that she knew exactly the script to say, and she was going to follow it to a T. So sure enough, Brendan, Wallace is the last guy's name, Brendan and his friends, they sit down close to where Audrey's sitting, and they watch as the spoiled kid enters the room. He enters the room in a very interesting manner, because the spoiled kid brings in a sound speaker system. So you already know that it's about to go down, bro. You already know this is about to be pretty freaking crazy, dude. So yeah, sure enough, he's walking up and he has like a wheelbarrow. Bro's dragging a wheelbarrow into the lunchroom right now. And attached and on top of the wheelbarrow, or in the wheelbarrow, I should say, or the wagon, I guess it's more of a wagon than a wheelbarrow, let's be correct here. He has the sound speaker, so a big old speaker or whatever. And attached to it is a microphone. So you already know where this is going, bro. You already know that it's going downhill. So yeah, he walks over to her and he stops in front of her. And Audrey looks a little freaked out because she was expecting that he was about to go crazy, but they were not expecting, or she was not expecting, or I guess Brendan and his friends were not expecting this either, for him to go this psycho insane, what is even going on right now moment. So he speaks into the microphone, "Attention everyone!" The entire room goes silent. Because dude, if anyone screams "attention everyone" into a microphone that's attached to a loudspeaker that they're wheeling in with a wagon in the middle of lunch, bro, I'm paying attention. I don't know about you, but I'm shifting my head over, needing to know if I'm about to hear some crazy stuff, which normally will follow in a situation like this. But he's like, "I just wanted to list off all the reasons why Audrey should go on a date with me." And he was about to just completely shoot himself in the foot. Because he's like, "Reason number 1, I have access to really cool cars. And Audrey, I would be able to take you on the coolest rides ever, and I guarantee this. Reason number 2, I will be able to bring you to really nice restaurants. I will actually be able to bring you to restaurants that all these other guys, the ones without the money like I have, would not be able to bring you to. Reason number 3, if we were to get married, I would never have to do anything and you would never have to do anything because I live off of a massive trust fund that you would live off of too. Of course, we're signing a prenup. I mean, you can't be serious right now, guys. Reason number 4, and in the middle of reason number 4, Audrey gets up and takes the microphone out of his hand. And he says, "Oh, perfect. You're going to say yes early. I didn't even get through the rest of my 15 reasons." And when Brendan hears this, he's like, "Bro really wrote down 15 reasons about why his dad was rich, bro. Like, that's crazy." Probably reason number 13 was that he'd add him on his American Express Platinum plan or something, bro. Like, I'm sure it's something like that. But anyways, right, she takes the microphone. And, Brendan was looking at her. And you could tell that Brendan was expecting to get a positive, an affirmative, to get a "Yes, Brendan. Oh my God, I'm so in love with you. I could go down on one knee or both knees right now. Oh, Brendan, I love the part. My favorite part was when you said your dad had a lot of money. So I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah." So that was not what she said. Believe it or not, that was not the quote that, came out of her mouth. I know you're probably surprised by that. But Audrey, in fact, said, "Brendan, I'm going to have to say no." And there was a gasp that went around the room. Not that people were shocked by this. No, because they probably would have gasped even harder if she said yes. But just the fact that she said that into the speakerphone, she was kind of told by Brendan that she had to say no really loudly and list her reasons really loudly. But, the spoiled kid kind of came in clutch and saved the day for not him, for everyone else but him, by bringing in a speaker system type thing so that Audrey could just speak normally and have everyone hear. And Audrey very intentionally said the following into the speaker system so that everyone could hear it. She's like, "Brendan, the only qualities you put forward are about the money that your parents made and that you have access to. Those are not qualities that people want in boyfriends. Those are not qualities that people want in friends. Those are not qualities that people want or want alone in acquaintances or classmates." And she goes on a list like that. And she's like, "Brendan, you have not displayed to me an ounce of originality, personality, anything that has to do with you. Everything that you've shown off to me as a reason why I should date you is a byproduct of your parents' work and not your own. It seems to me that your personality is completely inflated. It seems to me that your ego is inflated by the work that was done by your parents that you reap the rewards of. For that reason, I will not go on a date with you. until you become a better you. She was really trying to make this a positive spin, but bro, this turned out to be a crazy burn. Like she could have definitely gone harder, but that was low-key a good message. But imagine this kid's reaction, or just the embarrassment when the girl that you ask out in it, because the thing is, I think the spoiled kid went really hard because, and remember, let me know in the comments if this is morally good or not, when Brendan was like, dude, she's into you, and she's only going to be into you if you go super hard, right? If you really go all out. He probably wouldn't have even gone all out like that if, one, he didn't, well, first of all, he probably wouldn't have even like fully asked her out, instead of just asking her on a car ride if he didn't know that she was into him, quote unquote, right? It's not really. But also, he definitely would not have brought it, or maybe he would have, but it's unlikely that he would have had a loudspeaker and done such a crazy show of whatever if like he wasn't told that, yeah, Audrey's only gonna say yes if you show a really insane, if you go really crazy basically and just shout out other reasons why she should love you. That's the only reason why. So immediately after, right, she hands the microphone back to Brendan. And Brendan is just like standing there because bro was lined up for a victory. Bro was lined up for a softball, a swing that just connects. Oh, it's perfect. It's beautiful. But no, he got played. He got owned. And immediately, he turns to Brendan, the guy who said she's going to say yes. And she's only going to say yes if you make a big scene out of it and tell her all the things that you can give her, aka all the money you have. That's the only reason why she's gonna say yes. And the spoiled kid makes eye contact with Brendan, and low-key Brendan feels a little bad because you can tell by his eye contact this kid is basically looking at him like, why would you betray me, bro? I thought we were boys. I thought we had something. Come on, man. I thought we had something. And, but Brendan, after feeling bad for a millisecond, remembers dude is the richest person in Ohio, aka he's poor, lol. For the last month, he's like, okay, well, I'm actually doing something good for the big picture. So the spoiled kid, defeatedly and slowly, I don't know why he wouldn't skirt out of there, bro. If I was in that position, which I hope I never will be, like, what? But imagine I was in that position. I would be skirting out there as quickly as possible, but the spoiled kid was practically dragging this thing behind him as he slowly walked out, defeated, head down, Jungle by Egg Boogie playing in his ear pods. I don't even know, bro. Walking out mad slow, walk of shame, bro. If I was in his position, I would be sprinting out of there. I'd be already trying to figure out how to transfer middle schools, bro, because that's it for me. Rip, GG, we're done. So yeah, actually from that point on, or it's been like 2 weeks since this happened because this is a really recent story. But the spoiled kid, first of all, he doesn't talk to Brendan or the other guys in his class anymore, probably because he feels betrayed. But also, he's not gunning them. He's not saying, oh, richest person in Ohio right here. Dude, you're a bot for being poor, lol. None of that's happening anymore. So honestly, only time will tell if this actually impacted him in a positive way, or if this is going to turn him into even more of a monster than he was before. So I guess we'll find out. Moral of the story is just be a good person, I guess. And let me know in the comment section down below if you think what Brendan did was morally correct or a little bit suspect. And also, if you want to support the channel,
click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of the quiet kid who ends up completely owning / destroying the bully. It's a really great and satisfying story, and especially the bully's a pretty bad guy, and it's such a good, satisfying ending to this story, and it's one of those karma stories that you just have to watch. So sit back, relax, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Elvin. So anyways, there was a bully in Elvin's class that would pick on everyone, and we're going to call the bully Liam. I know, I'm not actually calling the secondary character Ben, well, because I'm going to use Ben for another character later on. But anyways, Liam, the bully, he was a jerk to everyone. He was notoriously not a good kid, but for some reason, he was always invited to things, and everyone was always friends with him. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but sometimes the worst kids, especially in middle school, would always somehow be super popular and friends with everyone, even though everyone mutually agreed that they didn't like them.
I was always really confused by this. But anyways, right? So Elvin and his friends had to deal with Liam for the longest time. And Elvin had a friend group. And it was a couple kids. One of them being this kid who we're going to call the quiet kid. We're not going to give him a name. We're just going to call him the quiet kid. Elvin and his friends really liked the quiet kid because when he did speak, he was cool. He was a good guy. He was had very solid intentions. He was very he was fun to be around. However, he just never spoke really. He not only never really spoke in social interactions, but he never spoke in class. And he really just stuck with Elvin and Ben, the other kid, and one other kid in their friend group. So it was very much like nobody knew of the quiet kid. They really only knew him as the quiet kid because he never really spoke. But Elvin saw through kind of the veil of not really talking and knew that this kid was a good guy. So gave him the chance basically to be part of the friend group. And they're really glad that they took that chance because it turns out he's a really cool guy. So anyways, the bully, Liam, right? This all started, it didn't all start. Liam's been a bully for a while, but things started to get bad New Year's, or New Year's of the year that the story happened, which was a couple years ago. Anyways, they were all having New Year's party. Because let me actually clarify, these guys are seniors in high school, juniors in high school, whatever, when the story starts. So they have a New Year's party. And this is a New Year's party where none of the parents are there. So it's a kids-only New Year's party. They're old enough in high school that this isn't unreasonable. It's not recommended, and I certainly don't recommend it. However, it's not unreasonable for this to happen. So at this New Year's party, there are a lot of drinks that, aren't water-based. Some of them are made of, special juices that, alcohol, right? Okay, don't blow me up, YouTube. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You all know what that means. So anyways, yeah, there's a lot of alcoholic beverages there. And the thing is, right, when you're hosting one of these parties, you really do need to you don't need to, but it's definitely good to watch, making sure no one is, having too much of something, because when someone has too much of something, they can really become a liability. Either they can become dangerous or they can become a danger to themselves or other people, right? So it's always important to look after this. However, this all took place at Elvin's house. And Elvin, at this time, was still cool with Liam. It's very weird, and Elvin reflects on this and is kind of questioning why Liam was even invited in the first place. But it was kind of Elvin invited a bunch of other people from his class. It wasn't simply Elvin's close friend group. He kind of wanted to have a class-wide New Year's party. Obviously didn't invite every single kid in the class, but anyone he was kind of friends with or friends of friends. And since Liam was popular, Liam was kind of friends of everyone else who's invited. So for some reason, it just genuinely felt weird for Liam not to be invited, even though it was universally known that no one really liked him. It's a very strange dynamic that you'll probably only see in high school or middle school, or just times where the social dynamics are really just skewed and messed up and very strange. Anyways, so Liam gets there. And, they're all having a fairly good time. They're all chatting it up. Things are pretty good. But at some point, Liam has a little bit too much to drink. Or maybe he doesn't. But it'd be better off if he did for the behavior he's about to... it would explain it better for the behavior he's about to do, right? So anyways, Elvin is sitting on the couch with the quiet kid, actually. And they're just having a little conversation. Quiet kid doesn't do super well at parties. It's not that he doesn't like them. He always enjoys showing up to them. However, he very much just sticks with his friend group of Elvin, Ben, and one other kid who I'm not giving a name because he doesn't need one, as he doesn't have anything special coming up in this story. Doesn't mean he's not a special guy, I'm sure he's great or whatever. But Elvin and the quiet kid are just sitting on the couch together, and they're just having a conversation. They're talking about, I don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about something. And that's when one of the girls comes up to Elvin. She basically explains to Elvin that Liam is acting very creepy to some of the girls at the party. And let me just say that as a guy who's hosting the party, it is 100% your responsibility to make sure that everyone there is feeling safe. I know that some people might disagree with me, being oh, everyone has to has to stand up for themselves. Everyone has to, fend for themselves or whatever. It's no, not in this case. First of all, in these situations, I think it's always important for anyone to stand up. And I think, it's always kind of put on you to be someone who can stand up and make sure everyone's feeling safe. But especially if you're the host of said party, right? It is somewhat your responsibility, if not 100% your responsibility, to go in there and to make sure everyone's feeling good. So when Elvin hears this, he feels like kind of this pit in his stomach start to form because he knows that there's going to be some form of confrontation because he knows for a fact that Liam has had too much to drink, and whenever someone has too much to drink, they're kind of their reasoning and their logic definitely goes out the window. That's 100% for sure. So anyways, Elvin goes downstairs because this party, he had like a 2-story house that also had a basement. And apparently a bunch of the people went down to the basement because the basement was kind of refurbished. It wasn't like a basement where you just threw a bunch of stuff in there and never went down there. It was like refurbished with like a couch and sofa or whatever. And it's a place where Elvin and his friends would go down quite often to hang out. So we went down there and there's like some girls standing at the corner, like talking with each other. And when Elvin walks down, they go up to him and basically say what the other girl said. And Elvin's like, yes, thanks for letting me know. I'm sorry if anything happened. Someone else actually just informed me of this. I will be dealing with this shortly. So Elvin walks over, and the quiet kid is walking behind Elvin because he wasn't going to sit on the couch alone, and he was kind of curious to see what was going on. But Elvin is walking over to the couches, and he sees Liam talking with this like girl, and she's very obviously uncomfortable, and maybe if Liam wasn't as inebriated as he was, he'd be able to pick up on the social cues. However, either way, it doesn't matter. He was still making her feel uncomfortable. I don't know if he was trying to make some moves that weren't requited, right? I don't know if he was just saying really weird stuff, or if it was just he was being super like into her and she was clearly being super not into him, and there was some kind of disconnect. Either way, Elvin like sits down on the couch. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And Liam kind of turns around and is like, "Bro, stop trying to cock block me, bro. I'm rizzing her up right now, bro." And Elvin had to be like, "Hey man, like I don't think she's into it." And Liam's like, "What do you say to me? What do you mean she's not into it? Of course she's into it." And like Elvin just looks over at this girl, and it could not be more clear that she was not into it. The way her facial expressions, her body language, the way that she was responding to Elvin, it was abundantly clear that she was not into him, right? But either way, Elvin had to go on to be like, "Actually, I think you're a little drunk at this point. I want to make sure everything goes down smoothly. Maybe it's time to wrap up the party." And, Liam's like, "So everyone's going right now?" And Elvin's like, "Yeah, people are going to be leaving kind of soon." And Liam's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." So Elvin kind of guides Liam up the stairs because he's had a bit to drink, so he's kind of like fumbling around the place or whatever, right? Like that. And, Elvin's moving him up the stairs, and he gets to the door, and Liam turns around, and he looks around. And it is very clear that the party is not done. Even as drunk as he was, it was fairly obvious that people were, cracking open new beverages. They were talking with each other. They were not getting their stuff together and walking to the door like Elvin was guiding Liam to the door. So Liam kind of turns around at him and says, "This party isn't ending." And Liam's like, "Yeah," or Elvin's like, "Yeah, but might be for you. You're a little bit too drunk right now. Let's get you home," right? So Liam did come with a friend, and the friend was like very sympathetic to what was going on and was very in agreement with Elvin that it was a very good call to get him home at this point. So it was only like 11 or something. Gets him in the car. Liam is not super happy about it, but what is he going to do? And basically, right, Elvin at this point assumes that there won't be any issues with this. He kind of just assumes that, Liam, had a misjudgment call, multiple misjudgment calls, and that, sometimes when people are all like, just a little life lesson, right? Hopefully you can get something from the Connor Pugs channel, but basically, right, sometimes when people drink too much, or under the influence of literally anything, they will make bad choices, and you, as the responsible one, have to make sure that they make the right choice. And they might be very disagreeable. They might be very angry and upset with you when they're in that mindset. But I found that like 9 out of 10 times that the next day, when they've come back to like a normal person, they will be so sorry. They will be like, "You were so right. I'm sorry. Thank you for doing what's right." And the only times that they don't is because they're so embarrassed about what they did the night before that they either don't want to talk about it or they're dragging their feet on the topic. Look, at the end of the day, you always need to do the right thing in these situations. And Elvin, in this case, just assumed that Liam was going to not care, and the next day probably not say anything about it, because Liam wasn't the type of guy to be like, "Bro, you were so right. Thanks for doing the right thing." that really just wasn't the type of guy that Liam was. Liam was definitely the more of the whatever man, but, you know. But apparently, Liam was not very happy about this. So a couple days go by after the party, and Liam doesn't say anything directly to Elvin, right? They're not beefing, but it's also not clear that Liam's not unhappy with him because they never speak in school. So it's not super obvious that Liam has any issues with him either way, or if Liam doesn't, right? They don't normally speak in school or anything like that. And after, it's about Tuesday, right? And the party happened Saturday night. It's about Tuesday when Elvin's driving into school, and he just gets a whiff of this really gross smell. It's kind of this like rotting, decaying, like, it's like something died in his car type smell. Little did he know there was something dead in his car. And that wasn't just an analogy. Oh, it smells like something died in his car. No, something died in his car, and that's why he was smelling it. So he kind of like, he pulls the car over on his drive into school, right? Or he pulls in the parking lot. Either way, he pulls over to check it out. And he's just like, something's really messed up. I'm smelling something really awful. Like, I got to figure out what it is. He's like, did I run over some animal? Did some squirrel die in my, like, radiator or something? Which really only happens in the wintertime because squirrels tend to, at least in the area I live in the Northeast where it gets pretty cold in the winter, squirrels will try and find warm places for the winter. And unfortunately, sometimes parts of the car are very attractive to them, and they get in there and then they pass away, right? It's unfortunate, but that happens sometimes. And you need to deal with it so your car doesn't smell like rotting carcass for the next 8 months, especially when the summer rolls around and that starts to ferment and heat up, and it's just not really great. So anyways, he goes back there, and eventually he pops the trunk. I think he looks in his car, under his car for a second, make sure nothing like got ran over and got really gross. But he pops the trunk of his car, and he sees this like dead, he sees this like big dead skunk just sitting there. And it's like very clearly the skunk didn't go in because there wasn't an easy way for it to go. Like, it's like very small animals could potentially go up the exhaust pipe, but this was a big old dead skunk, right? It had not crawled in. It had been placed in there. So Elvin was like, whoa, this is really weird. So he's like, okay, noted. He like, it's gross. He finds a bunch of sticks on the side of the road, and using 2 sticks as if they were like big chopsticks or whatever, he's able to eventually move the deceased carcass out of the back of his trunk. And he's like, all right, I got to spray this down. I got to clean this up. But I also need to check the cameras like of my car, because like he had like a ring light or whatever those cameras were, like for the last like 36 hours, because this seems intentional. I doubt that it's impossible for something to crawl in here. This feels almost intentional. So eventually after school, I mean, he tells his friends about it at school. They're like, dude, that's weird. Like, lol, like that's crazy, bro, whatever, right? And eventually he goes back home, he gets some spray, cleans the whole thing up, whatever. And then he goes on the Ring app, which is like the camera app, and he's going through the last 36 hours. If you don't know, that's a lot of footage. It doesn't record everything. It only records when there's kind of like movement or whatever. And his car was parked outside, and I guess the trunk wasn't locked, which, you know, Liam has been in, or not, sorry, what's his name? Elvin. Elvin has been in like a bad habit of just not locking his trunk or whatever. And he sees on Sunday night, so a day after the party, right? He's going through all the Ring mode notifications or whatever, and he almost swipes past this video. He almost swipes past this recording when he just lets it play for another second longer, and he sees Liam in the frame. Liam lives about 20 minutes away from him by car. So this is very strange because this was a day after the party. There's no reason for Liam to be at his house. And he also wasn't told that he was at his house. It's not like Liam was walking by the neighborhood and he just happened to be caught on camera. It's very obvious that Liam made it a thing to come all the way over here. So at this point, Elvin's very like tuned in. He's like, okay, what's going on here? And he's watching. And he watches as Liam has a black trash bag, and he goes to the back of Elvin's car, pops the trunk, dumps whatever's in the trash bag, closes the trunk, and then leaves. Elvin was completely shocked at this point because he didn't feel as if a skunk crawled into his trunk, because it was there's no way for it to. So he didn't think that was what it was, and it almost felt intentional. But at the same time, when you see proof that it is intentional, it's almost like you're in a state of disbelief that someone would do it for that reason. So immediately Elvin's like trying to think like, why would this kid do it? It's not as if we're super close and he thought this would be a funny prank or whatever. This is very clearly an act of aggression because like and why would he target me? And Elvin was thinking about it and he's like, the only thing I can think of is when I like told him to leave early because he was super drunk, but everyone was in agreement with me on that. Like it very obviously wasn't a bad call. So Elvin decides that the next day in school, he goes up to Liam at the lunch table who's sitting with his friends. He's like, yo, dude, can we talk for a second? And Liam, who kind of immediately knows what this is all about, is like, oh, you must have seen my practical joke. Do you think it was funny? And Elvin's like, I mean, not really. It stunk up the car. I don't know. Like, could have told me about it like a day in. Like, then it might have been funny, but I don't know. I kind of wish you told me. And Liam's like, bro, you can't even take a joke. Like, that's so funny, dude. Like, it's funny, guys, right? And he turns to, like, his friends at the table, and they're like, oh, yeah, man. That's hilarious. And he's like, yeah, bro, they all think it's funny. Like, just to take a joke next time. And Elvin's like, okay. He wasn't going to press about, like, why he did it. He wasn't going to say, are you mad for me kicking him out? Because Liam would have definitely been like, bro, what? I don't even remember that. Like, why would I care? I was just pulling a joke on you. But it's very clear to Elvin and that the whole situation was because he was kicking him out, right? So Elvin goes back to the lunch table, and because he explained it all to his friends, and he said he's going to go confront Liam, right? So they're all just talking about it. And they're just like, how is like Liam accepted by everyone? How does like everyone quote unquote like him? Like we all know that they don't like him, right? It's really weird. So this next story, or not this next story, this next occasion of Liam being the worst, right, happens about 4 months later or so. And by the way, for the last story, the quiet kid has witnessed the entire thing. So this is important for building up to the end of the story because it's the quiet kid is seeing Liam's progression through all the damage he does to his friends, right? Anyways, 4 months later, there's another guy in Elvin's and the quiet kid's friend group who we're going to call Ben. I called him this a little while ago, but now he's the main character of this arc of the story. So anyways, once again, this was like, was it 4 months later? It was like the day of summer. It was like school got out on a Friday and they had like a summer party Friday night. So it was like the day that school got out. Everyone was super hyped. This was really big. I don't know if it was graduation. I don't know if they were seniors. I don't know if they were juniors and it was just simply the last day of Friday night or the last day of school. And it was also Friday night. But either way, there was a big party to celebrate. And this party wasn't hosted by Ben, Elvin, the quiet kid, or anyone in their immediate friend group. This was hosted by a mutual friend who was in the grade, who they all kind of liked, and this mutual friend was still cool with Liam. At this point, Elvin, even though it would have been a little bit awkward, would not have invited and still would not invite Liam to any future events that he would put on. However, this event was not put on by him or the quiet kid or any of his friends. This was an event put on by like mutual friend who was still friendly enough with Liam to invite him. So Ben had a girlfriend of like 6 months, right? And they had been together for a while, and things were going really well. And the girlfriend was in the grade with him. So the girlfriend was also invited by proxy to the party. She showed up. Things were going pretty well. Since it was like all outdoors, it was around a bonfire. It was in this kid's backyard. It was really good vibes because it was the first day of summer. Everyone was really excited just to like, we're done with schoolwork for a while. We got a second till we start our summer jobs if we have one. Because it's like that kind of transition period from school to summer. You normally at least have a week or a couple of days at a minimum, right? So everyone was just really good spirits. And once again, I think Liam either had too much or he was just inherently a jerk. I don't really know. Either or, it doesn't really matter. But Liam started to hit on Ben's girlfriend at this point. And it was very clear that, look, here's the thing. There's a difference. It is kind of a nuanced difference for sure. But there is definitely a difference between trying to be friendly with someone who you know is in a relationship, because you can be friends with like a different gender, right? You can be friends with a different gender. 2 of my 5 best friends are girls, right? So I think you can experience something in a friendship that you can't get from someone of your own, gender, right? I believe that. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's good to have a mix of friends, right? However, there's also pretty clearly just certain vibes and the way that you approach someone and have a conversation with someone and speak to someone, that it's much more clear that you're not trying to be their friend, you're trying to get in their pants, to put it very bluntly, right? And it was very clear that Liam was hitting on Ben's girlfriend. Just the way his body language, the things he would say, the compliments he'd be giving her, it was very clear, right? This was the kind of the Liam girl pickup guide, handbook, textbook, whatever, right? This was his kind of thing that he would do. And everyone kind of knew it. And it was very weird. And like Ben wasn't concerned because he knew that like his girlfriend wouldn't cheat on him. He was kind of staying in the immediate vicinity because he was like, this is a little weird. And if he tries to make a move on her, I don't want things to go south. You know what I mean? So he was kind of paying attention to what was going on. And Elvin and the quiet kid were kind of standing in the corner talking with each other. And they look over and Elvin's like to the quiet kid, he's like, dude, like, look at Liam hitting on like Ben's girlfriend. That's so weird. Like he knows that she's in a relationship, right? And, the quiet kid says, like, one of the few things he says for the entire night to Liam is like, well, I mean, like, I guess Liam, or it's not to Liam. The quiet kid says something to Elvin first thing, like the entire night. He's like, I bet Liam's the type of guy to say just because there's a goalie doesn't mean I can't score. You know what I mean? And sure enough, that was 100% Liam's intention. And Liam, at this point, actually goes in to try and, like, make a move a little bit. Definitely makes more of a physical move. He doesn't, like, go in and, like, immediately kiss her and press her against a wall or something insane, right? But he starts to make a move, and it's very clear what his intentions are. And Ben's girlfriend kind of backs up. It's like, whoa, I'm not feeling like that. I'm in a relationship. And Liam is very, like, because, look, these things can happen. You can misread someone's vibes, and they can say no. And that can be very, very uncomfortable in the heat of the moment. But at that point, you just got to respectfully be like, oh, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I read things wrong. Have a good night, and then move on, right? But Liam took it very, very personally. And this is when Liam started, like, cussing this girl out. Like, it was really out of pocket what he was doing. He was being like, you're just, I don't want to go into it specifically because I want YouTube to like this video, right? But just imagine just, like, berating her with a bunch of insults, which is, it's just pretty low blow. It's like, yeah, I get it. She wasn't into you. But first of all, maybe she was into you, but just cared about, like, being in a relationship and holding that sacred. Like, is there anything wrong with, holding that important? I don't know. Like, but anyways, it was very clearly an issue. Ben walked up to Liam and was all like, dude, you can't be saying that to my girlfriend like that. I want you to apologize. And Liam's like, I'm not apologizing to anyone. And gives Ben a little bit of a shove, right? And the thing is, right, Liam was a fairly big guy. Wasn't as if he worked out a ton. He was just a bigger guy. But he also wasn't like, I don't know, mobility scooter. He couldn't do anything. He just had a much larger presence, and Ben just simply didn't have that presence. So in a fight, Ben would 100% lose. So unfortunately, right, Liam kind of pushed him, gave him like a smirk, and then moved on. He just walked over somewhere else. And at this point, the quiet kid was just noticing to himself. He was witnessing the way that Liam treated other people. And at this point, the quiet kid knew that if something was to happen later on, that, little did everyone else know, little did Liam know, the quiet kid is definitely not going to be the one to be messed with, as you guys will see right now. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment quiet down below. That's the secret word of the day. This is like the farthest I've gone before asking for the secret word of the day. This is also a little bit of a longer story. I thought this was a pretty good one that you'd enjoy. By the way, these stories will be on Spotify, if I remember. Submit these stories to my Instagram or Twitter. They're both in the description of this video. And also follow my TikTok. It's in the description, Connor Pugs. I put my short form videos on there, and you can support me by watching them on there as well. Finally, the best way to support the channel is to watch this video till the end and then binge watch more videos after this. So just go ahead and watch another story after this one and then watch another one. And let me know in the comment section how many videos you have watched today or plan to watch. I'm genuinely curious. And in the pinned comment down below is a story time playlist to help make that process nice and easy. Anyways, let's get back to it as the kind of the climax of the story where the quiet kid destroys the bully in a pretty crazy way, and I know you'll enjoy it. So let's jump right into it. So now we're going a month and a half later or so. So we're much farther into the we're much farther into the summer. And there's another party. And once again, it's hosted by someone who is friends enough with Liam that he's invited, and also friends with Elvin, Quiet Kid, in that group. So once again, if Elvin or the Quiet Kid, which Quiet Kid would never host party, but if Elvin was to host one, Liam would not be invited at this point. Them, like Quiet Kid, Ben, Elvin, and the other kid, they all hate him at this point. They didn't like him before, but now they have good reason to dislike him. But anyways, once again, Liam is there. And he's just being obnoxious. He's just being a jerk. He's just being one of those kids. He's just doing stuff that is just like, damn, bro. Like, why? Like, why do you want everyone to hate you practically at this point? Because he was doing himself dirty, right? He was kind of like, I don't even have an exact example, but just think about like just stuff like that, like being really obnoxious. And it all went downhill for Liam when he bumped into the Quiet Kid. The Quiet Kid was just having a conversation with Ben. He was just standing there. They were talking about, like, I don't know, what was, like, next on their horizons, what they wanted to do with their lives. Those good, like, deep 12:30 a.m. conversations. 12:30 a.m. is that? Yeah, to 12:30 a.m. conversations that you have while staring into the universe, just being like, where are we? What are we? To what context do we exist? Just those questions, right? Standard everyday existential crisis type questions. And that's when Liam bumps into him. Liam is like fairly inebriated, as he tends to be, and bumping into the Quiet Kid literally meant Liam stumbled back into him. But Liam took it as that was like mutually they bumped into each other, and Liam had to be the alpha big dog and talk down on him or whatever, right? So Liam was like turned around and is like, you like watch where you're going, kid. And everyone looked at Liam kind of like, why are you being a jerk about this? Why are you being so condescending? You bumped into him. And the Quiet Kid turned around and didn't say anything. And Liam's like, I want you to say sorry to me right now. And the Quiet Kid wasn't one for picking fights, but he also wasn't one for submitting to someone or something that's like not respectable, right? And this was a great example. And Liam goes up to him and is like, I want you to say sorry for bumping into me. And the Quiet Kid just looks at him. In a little bit of context, Liam had a long-term girlfriend of like 2 years that they broke up with over the summer. Liam had been caught cheating for like the 10th time, and eventually she was done with him, right? So that was very new, that was very recent, and that was very raw to him. The Quiet Kid looks at Liam, looks him dead in the face, stares him deep into his eyes, and says, no wonder your girlfriend broke up with you. Everyone at the party went silent. People nearby went silent, and then other people who were out of earshot went silent because they noticed everyone else going silent. And Liam's face turned bright red, like some kind of tomato or something. And he was like, what did you say to me? It's like, you can't get away, you can't say stuff like that. I won't let this level of disrespect stand. You don't understand what you just did. And the Quiet Kid is looking at him, just kind of staring him down. The Quiet Kid is smaller and frailer than Ben. Liam is a big kid. Everyone was thinking, oh my God, Quiet Kid's about to get whooped. Liam's about to take the Quiet Kid to the cleaners. He's about to get smacked around. And at this point, Elvin and Ben kind of look at each other and they're like, whoa, we got to step in here. So Elvin and Ben, they're walking up to Liam, and Liam literally pushes himself in front of Elvin and Ben to block them. And he successfully does, right? He's like, he goes up to the Quiet Kid, he's like, you're about to regret everything you just said. And then Liam goes and takes a swing on the Quiet Kid. And the Quiet Kid gracefully dodges it. And Liam was so confused. Because the Quiet Kid, look, he's smaller so he can be more flexible or whatever, I guess. But it was so eloquently done. It was like he's practiced this before. So Liam goes into full fighting mode. He tries to tackle him, but like the quiet kid uses his momentum to like push him around and Liam stumbles down. Little did Liam know that the quiet kid, his number one activity, it's not a standard sport. He doesn't do normal sports. Quiet kid would always do community service at school or whatever. The quiet kid was like a black belt in karate. He did like taekwondo. He did every single form of martial arts on the weekends. Just because he wasn't a big, ripped, big, meaty guy who was going to run into you, this kid would destroy anyone in a fight. He was like the most insane street fighter of all time. He would have been the perfect gig for him. Would have been, you know, those people that are like, they don't look that intimidating, but they're like legitimately professional arm wrestlers. And they'd go to like bars or whatever and be like, $5 for an arm wrestling match. Like, you put down $5, I'll pay you 50 if you win. And then they just smoke someone because they're actually insane. This guy should like literally like the quiet kid should do this, be like, fight me for $100. And it's like this little kid or whatever. So you're like, sure, whatever. He goes in and flips you over and chokes you out, bro. But yeah, Liam keeps going though. Liam keeps swinging. He keeps trying to like push him over. The quiet kid gracefully just pushes him to the side, dodges him. But the thing is, eventually, Liam latches on. The quiet kid was doing a lot of kind of like outmaneuvering maneuvers, but eventually Liam latches on. And everybody, who is pretty amazed at the fact that the quiet kid lasted this long, kind of grimaced a bit because they're like, oh, well, it's over for him now. Liam is going to outpower him. But the quiet kid had secret strength. He had this like sneaky strength, bro, that no one saw coming. And he was able within 10 seconds to get Liam in a headlock. Liam could not move. He couldn't do anything. And it was in front of everyone. Everyone was watching as Liam the Great was held in a headlock by the small, scrawny, quiet kid. Eventually, Liam's like, let me go. And the quiet kid does. He doesn't want to be in this fight. He just wanted to make him submissive enough so that he wouldn't fight back. So yeah, Liam gets up. He's like, he just kind of looks at him. And Liam is like so embarrassed at this point that he legitimately turns and like runs away. This party was close enough to his home that it was like a 5-minute walk. Liam legitimately runs out of the backyard that this party's happening in and runs out of there. And Elvin, Ben, and the other friend go up to the quiet kid. They just look at him. And the quiet kid just looks back. And Elvin is like, bro, I freaking love you, dude. Leave a like in the video. I'm not really going to give you anything, but you should still do it, so leave a like. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story, and today we have a perfect karma story. A perfect story of a spoiled kid getting owned by his teacher. It's one of those just really satisfying stories that'll leave you feeling like all is right in the world, man, after you're done watching it. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump into the story. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Sultan. That'll be the name we'll be using, and yeah, let's do it. Anyways, so there's a kid in Sultan's class who we're simply going to call the spoiled kid. And this kid was not only a kid who had access to a lot of money, which, I mean, he did, but just because you have access to a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you're like an entitled brat or a spoiled kid or anything like that. You could be genuinely a good person and just happen to have access to a lot of money. You can also be a poor, bad person. Like, you can be either or. However, way too often when a kid has access to too much money and knows other people don't, he kind of feels this sense of entitlement, or she feels this sense of entitlement of like, I earned this, even though, you know, as you get older, hopefully you learn that you didn't. So this spoiled kid was one of those kids who would wipe his butt with a $100 bill if he was given the opportunity, and then brag to everyone about how he wiped his butt with a $100 bill. Like, he was that type of spoiled kid. And he was also just a jerk to everyone. He was very entitled. He was very like, I deserve everything because I exist, therefore like I should have. And like, if I don't get what I want, then like something is wrong in the world. One of those types of kids. So anyways, just like starting off this story, we're starting it off with a bang.
because it is show and tell. And I don't know if you guys had show and tell. I had it like very briefly in 3rd grade. Some kids had it like every single year through even high school, which is pretty crazy. But these kids were in 6th grade and they still had show and tell. I think the teacher just was like, I don't know what else to do. It's like, I see all my other teachers doing it, even though the teachers were like 2nd grade teachers or whatever. So the kids were a little weirded out by it, but they're like, whatever, we'll do show and tell. And we're starting off with the spoiled kid who walks up to the front of the class to show off his item for show and tell. And like, for example, Sultan brought in one of his like, I don't know, one of his old like 1980s vintage like Superman comics or something. That was one of the things he was super interested in. One kid brought in like a football because like he was a big football guy and he was like, I don't really know what else to bring in. Like it really was this, you brought in something kind of interesting, but you didn't do what the spoiled kid was about to do. So the spoiled kid comes into class and he walks up to the front and he takes a box. He has this like box in his hand. And it's kind of like a smaller box. It's like a square shaped box. So it's not a rectangular shoe box. It's a square shaped box. He opens it up and inside is this shiny watch. It seems to be like one of those silver plated watches, but it definitely looks very expensive. However, you could have just left it at that. Like the thing that makes it like maybe, here's the thing. If you had a really expensive watch, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to bring it in and show it off for show and tell. However, the spoiled kid goes too far. Because when the spoiled kid's up there, he's like, hey guys, like for my item of show and tell, I wanted to show you off this watch. I got this watch for my 13th birthday, which bro, for my 13th birthday, I got a Star Wars action figure, which was fire, by the way. I was so happy. But this kid's like, yeah, in this watch, I want to play a little game with the class. And everyone in the class, including Sultan, were kind of looking at each other like, what does he mean he wants to play a game with the class? Like, what does he even mean by that, bro? Like, lol, okay, what? And he goes on to be like, yeah, so I'm going to take guesses. We're going to play higher or lower. We're going to play higher and lower, guessing how much this watch costs. Which, first of all, like, dude, if you're going to say it, just spit it out. Like, you don't have to drag this out. But also, if you're bringing in something and the whole point of the item is that it costs you a lot of money, like, that's, like, the lamest form of flexing I've ever seen. Like, I don't know. Like, like, even just wearing it. Like, leave it. Like, everyone knows that this watch is probably expensive. They all know that you're the spoiled kid who gets whatever he wants. And, yeah, the watch is probably expensive, man. So, I don't know. Like, you just don't have to say it. But eventually, like, no one is raising their hands because no one wants to be like, oh, is it $5,000 just to boost the kid's ego? And he's like, no, more, ha, whatever. No one wants to boost this kid's ego because it's already boosted up to the moon and beyond. So eventually the spoiled kid's like, no guessers? You guys are completely like lost or whatever? He like mutters under his breath, figures. And he's like, well, let me just say that if you're going to guess anything under $1,000, you're wrong. Just pure silence. It was super cringe and uncomfortable because like, I know that this kid thought he was like the most, the coolest, like, wow, this kid is so awesome. I wish I was like him. However, literally no one felt that way after hearing this. They just thought that he was like an entitled kid / spoiled brat. And yeah, so he goes on to say, well, teacher, do you have any guesses? And the teacher can't just be like, isn't like kicking him off, but obviously isn't super happy with the way this is going. So he's like, no, I don't actually. And the spoiled kid's like, fine, I'll tell you. $10,000. And everyone kind of just looks at him. Obviously, that's a ton of money, and especially for a watch, that's a lot of money. But, you know, everyone's kind of just looking at him like, okay, dude, like, do you want a prize? Do you want an award for that? Do you want an award that someone bought you a $10,000 watch? Like, you're not getting my admiration or respect. So do you want, like, I don't know, do you want a trophy that says biggest flexer in the school or something? Yeah, so the kid just like is like, yep, and that's all I want to say. And he sits down, and yeah, that's just like, and that's to start off the story with something like that just shows you a little glimpse of what this kid is like. But when he sits down, he doesn't sit back in the spot he was normally sitting. He sits next to this girl. This girl we're gonna call Kate because I call like a third of the girls in my stories Kate because it's easier for me to remember because name of my friend back home. Anyways, so Sultan happened to have a crush on this girl, right? And he saw that like the spoiled kid, instead of sitting back in the seat he was just in, sat next to Kate instead. And he was talking up Kate, and you know, to give credit where credit is due, The spoiled kid was low-key pretty good at flirting. He was actually cool with it. He was good with it. And I hate to give him credit because, like, no one wants to give the spoiled entitled kid credit, but I gotta be fair in these videos. Dude was definitely running it up. And Sultan saw this, right? Sultan said in the because by the way, the story was submitted to me via Instagram. Follow me and then DM me your own stories if you'd like. Sultan admitted to me that he was getting a little jealous. So the spoiled kid is like talking this girl up. And I think that like Kate was like pretty embarrassed for him after the whole, I have an expensive watch. But the thing is, this guy was just being so, I don't know, like he just had game that was unmatched. And I think she kind of just started to willingly forget what the spoiled kid just did. I think she was like, yeah, this kid isn't too bad looking, and also he's pretty smooth with it, so I'm just gonna forget the fact that he went up there flexing that someone bought him a $10,000 watch and kind of like drew the whole thing out like as long as possible to get the most attention, as well as the focus of the presentation was that the watch was expensive. I'm just gonna forget all about that. So yeah, Sultan had to watch for the next 20 minutes, and because by the way, other people were going up there, showing off whatever they had, and everyone else's presentations for show and tell were pretty normal, like they were pretty normal people presentations or whatever. However, the spoiled, and yeah, no one was showing off, oh, here's $1,000 gold brick I wiped my butt with. But yeah, the thing is, the spoiled kid wasn't showing any attention to these kids' presentations. He was just whispering/whisper flirting with the girl next to him, which was Kate. Unfortunately, this was Sultan's crush, so the next 20 minutes were super infuriating. Not just because some random guy was flirting with Sultan's crush, which it's always tough. Dude, I've been in that situation a lot where you see someone else and you know that they're doing a good job, and they're basically just saying like, hey man, that's tough for you, but this girl's mine, man. I've been in that situation. It's unfortunate, but it's even worse when that person is the worst. Like, at least if it's a good guy, you're like, dang, I lost out. Like, I'm taking the L, but at least she's taking a W. The thing is, though, Sultan knows that this guy's the worst. So yeah, this was like the most excruciating 20 minutes of Sultan's life. However, things turn around for Sultan because, you know, he's talking with his friends, and his friends all know that, like, he has, like, a thing for Kate or whatever. And they're all, like, at the lunch table every day. They're like, did you talk to her, bro? Did you talk to her? Most of the days would be no, and they'd be like, dude, come on. But one of the days, he'd be like, yeah, like, we had a little conversation. They'd be like, let's go. Let's freaking go. And they'd all, like, stand up in the lunch table and go, like, bum, 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 but, like, bang their table. It was cool. It was a fun time. But they also all knew about it. So when Sultan was explaining what happened, the guys were like, dang, bro, like, that's mad tough. Like, I hate to see that, like, especially with that kid. Because, like, this, even though those guys weren't in the class with Sultan, they just knew that that kid was the worst, just in general. However, when the kids was like, you know, he's like, wait, I think I have something to say. And he said that, like, word was getting around, like, that everybody, after, like, some girl in the class saw that, like, Kate was talking with the spoiled kid, apparently, like, every single girl and like half the guys in the entire grade went up to Kate because like word gets out really quickly. They go to a pretty small school and also middle school. If a guy talks to a girl or vice versa, then oh my God, they're dating, bro. Like that was a big deal back in the day, which is kind of crazy to look back on. And I'm like, dang, that's actually how it was back then. But anyways, word got out pretty quickly and like literally everybody went up to Kate and they were like, dude, this kid's the worst. Don't give him the time of day. I know he's smooth with it, but trust me, he's terrible. And the nail in the coffin for the spoiled kid is when his ex-girlfriend, sure, they're like in 6th grade, so oh my God, 5th grade girlfriend, that's so serious. But anyways, when his ex-girlfriend goes up to Kate and is like, look, I know you might be thinking I'm just saying this because I want to get back with him, but I guarantee you I will never even talk to that kid again. And she goes on to list all the reasons why their relationship failed and why it was a terrible experience and why she shouldn't be anywhere near that kid because he's like the worst, most entitled, spoiled kid like ever. Yeah, so eventually Kate, just like the next day, Sultan goes into class and the spoiled kid sits right next down to Kate. And before, like, even though the spoiled kid was very, like, smooth with it and he had a lot of game or whatever, at this point, like, you know, Kate, like, the day before, Kate was at least responding with, like, complete sentences. She was, like, responding like a normal person. But today, for some reason, the spoiled kid was very confused because today she came in and she didn't say anything, dude. Like, she would be like, yep, okay, haha, whatever. or just flat out ignore stuff sometimes. Like if the spoiled kid made like a joke under his breath, even if that joke was funny, like the day before she would laugh at everything, she'd even like overemphasize like how funny she thought it was, right? But today, she made it look like every joke bombed, bro. She made it look like this kid had a Netflix special that got 1 star or something, dude. But the spoiled kid was just really confused. However, the spoiled kid apparently really liked Kate. And this was not good for Kate, because the spoiled kid would start to get a little bit desperate in his attempts. And by a little bit desperate, I mean you are about to see the most uncomfortable and cringe thing I've probably ever, okay, maybe not ever told on the channel. I've told a lot of stories that are pretty cringe, which if you guys are bored, feel free to check out the playlist of my stories linked in the pinned comment after this one. But yeah, you're about to hear one of the most uncomfortable things I've told on the story in a second, on the channel in a second, told on the story. Guys, I can't even speak English properly. I gotta take some more English classes. But yeah, the spoiled kid gets a little bit desperate for Kate's attention. Let's just put it like that. He gets a little bit desperate. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret keyword of the day. If you want to farm some hearts on the channel, I will try and heart a bunch of comments to say the secret word down below. And also, if you do want to support the channel, I mentioned this a second ago, but there is a playlist in the pinned comment down below. If you put that playlist on, it's all my old stories. If you put that playlist on while you're doing something like, I don't know, cleaning your room, playing video games, drawing, trying to go to sleep, whatever, right? It actually really does support the channel because watch time's really good. And please let me know in the comment section what you were doing while watching my videos. I read the comments all the time, and I'm genuinely so interested to hear what you guys are doing. And also, I try and hard and respond to those comments because it's my way of saying thank you for supporting the channel by watching the videos while doing other stuff. Let's get back to the story, as the spoiled kid is about to do something pretty mega cringe. So let's get into it. Yeah. So a couple days later, and this is a couple days of, the spoiled kid failing to flirt with Kate. And at this point, every single day, Sultan, while he's not, he's not making his moves with Kate, so he can't really be too happy about it. However, he's sitting back, and he's watching the spoiled kid basically flailing his arms around in a sense, by the way that he's just like trying to talk to her and it's not working. But on Friday, they were supposed to do presentations on countries, because this was like, I don't know, a geography class. I think the last time I had a quote unquote geography class was like legitimately in 6th grade. I haven't had geography class since 6th grade. But anyways, since they're in a geography class, they were each given a country to do a presentation on. It wasn't that deep. Like, this wasn't worth like 100,000% of their grade, and if they even like coughed in the wrong time, they would fail immediately and be kicked out of school and then have to literally live on the streets from that point on. It wasn't that deep. However, it still was a presentation that was worth like what a quiz would be worth, and you had to do it in front of the entire class. I guess though, the spoiled kid decided that, he was just going to take a 0 on this presentation, because he decided that this presentation was a perfect opportunity to basically try and win Kate back, quote unquote, right? So he decided to do something very cringe and very uncomfortable, because Sultan goes up there and he has a presentation on, I don't know, man, Libya, right? And he goes like, oh, the GDP of Libya is whatever. Here are some cultural things I found interesting. Here's like the history of it. Here's the current president, whatever, right? And he goes down and everyone's doing the exact same thing. And that's when the spoiled kid goes up there. And Sultan low-key thinks that in the presentation, the spoiled kid's gonna like accidentally include an image of the spoiled kid sitting on his bed covered in a pile of money and be like, oops, how did that get there? Right? But Sultan has no idea, is not prepared for what is about to come, right? He is simply not prepared for what is about to follow. So the spoiled kid goes up there and he starts the presentation. And immediately, everyone realizes that this will not be a normal presentation, and this will not be a normal day in geography class. Because the presentation starts not with a photo of a country, not with the name of the country. He was supposed to do Argentina, not with the name Argentina or a photo of Argentina or anything like that, or not even a blank like slide. Like, it's not like he messed up and he added a blank slide. On there says, reasons to date spoiled kid. And by the way, whenever I say spoiled kid, fill in a name in your head. It's just easier for me to say spoiled kid. Yeah, so anyways, he's like, reasons to date spoiled kid. Yeah, the presentation literally says reasons to date spoiled kid.
So everyone in the class starts like mumbling to each other. Some people are very shocked. And the teacher, dude, I don't know why in all these situations the teachers always just let these things run on, but the teacher must have like not been paying attention, been spacing out because all the presentations were low-key kind of boring. I mean, it's just like the GDP of Japan is 100, like boo, boring, I don't care. And I think the teacher was spacing out because he was not paying, he did not stop this, right? And he's like, reasons to date spoil, kid. And goes to the next slide. It is literally a stock image of dollar bills, bro. It's a stack of money. And it says under there, you will be financially supported. Literally saying, I will be your sugar daddy, bro. That's legit what this kid was saying. And he was like, he says, all right, so as you can see in the first slide, and I think this kid was being very careful not to expose himself right away, because the teacher would have heard if he's like, reasons to date me. Number 1, I'm rich. But he's like, everyone, so as you can see in the first slide, this is true. And everyone's like, bro, what? And Sultan's like, hey, yo, bro, like, what is going on right now? Like, this is legit crazy. Yeah, and then he goes to the next slide. And it literally says, super... Bro, it says super handsome. He announces himself as his reason number 2 is that he is self-proclaimed super handsome. And it's a photo of like, okay, I wish he put a photo of handsome Squidward in there, but it was just a photo of himself. I think it would be much funnier if he put a photo of handsome Squidward. That would be much funnier in my opinion. But yeah, it is. It's a photo of himself, and number 2 says like super handsome. And Sultan looks over, and Kate looks appalled, bro. Like I think Kate was like kind of just taking everyone else's word before when they're like, you can't date this guy, he's the worst. I think she was kind of a little disappointed, but like trusted, especially when, you know, his ex-girlfriend came up and said, yeah, this guy's the worst, that she's like, all right, fine. I think like she just had a look of like, oh, so this is why he sucks. Okay, that makes sense actually. This right here, this makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, and then he goes on to the next slide, and it's like, we'll pick you up in fat whip. And it's a photo of like, it's like a photo of like his dad's car or whatever. It's like one of those like nicer cars. Like, I don't know if it's a full on like Ferrari $3 million crazy car or something like that. But it's like one of those Porsche Mercedes type. It's like one of those cars that could run up for a lot of money, which is kind of dumb at a certain point. Like, if you like nice cars, you like nice cars. But dude, I kind of feel like at a certain point, you're just burning your cash. But whatever, right? He's like, we'll pick you up in nice whip or whatever. And then the next slide is the worst one. Because the next slide, he's no longer talking about himself. No. He is no longer talking about himself. He now says, so, ... And everyone's like, where is this going? It's like, ... And this is when the teacher starts to pay attention. And he's kind of like, what? Like, what is this presentation? Because he must have been spacing out for the, I'm so rich, I'm so handsome, and I have a nice car part of the presentation. Because he definitely would have stepped in and been like, hey, bro, this doesn't look like Argentina at all. But it just says, so, ... Kind of like the next thing's going to be crazy. So the teacher's like, is it like a GDP reveal? Is it a commentary on the internal conflicts in the southern region of the whatever, right? It's like, I don't know what this reveal is going to be. And we click to the next slide. It is the worst thing ever. Because it says, like, Kate, these reasons are great. You should go on a date with me. It's fate. It's like a poem, bro. He asked Kate out via poem. It's crazy, right? So everyone in class is like, lol. Everyone bursts out laughing. Like, it is not the reaction I bet that the spoiled kid thought. I bet when the spoiled kid was typing this up, in his mind, he was expecting everyone to be like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. You are so rich, handsome, and have an awesome car and a nice watch and are just so hot. So, of course, Kate would want to go out with you, dude. Oh my God. It was like, I wonder who this guy wants to go out with. He wants to go out with Kate. I'm so jealous. No. And then all the guys would be like, oh my God, how could Kate say no? He's so rich, handsome, and awesome. Oh my God. Yeah, let's just say that how it turned out was a little bit different. Everyone was just freaking out. Like, kids were getting out of their seats and running around with, like, you know, the hands on their head. You know that gif of, like, the guy who, like, leans back after roasting someone and all the people freak out around them? Just imagine but with the class. Like, even Sultan stood up out of his seat, put his hands on his head, is like, oh my God, starts walking back. He has a friend in the back of the room who just, like, falls out of his chair laughing. Everyone's like, what the frick, bro? Like, what is this dude doing, dude? And at this point, the teacher's like, spoiled kid, like, this has nothing to do with Argentina. And some people in the class are probably thinking, dude, you just caught on that this doesn't have to do anything with Argentina? Did you not realize that the first 3 slides were like, I'm rich, I'm handsome, and I have the coolest car ever? Because, yeah, that totally has to do something with Argentina, bro. But everyone's freaking out. You know, Sultan's on the floor laughing. He's slamming his hand against the desk, like, oh my God, bro. Like, this is... And at this point, like, Kate is just, like, looking at the ground. She's like, I'm not here. This is not happening. Why me? Like, I shouldn't have even talked to this kid. It makes total sense why everyone was like, stay away. This kid's a freak. He's the worst. It makes sense now. I should have listened earlier. All that stuff like that. At this point, the teacher realizes what's going on. And he's like, spoiled kid, this has nothing to do with, I don't know, like the presentation. Like, this is a distraction to the class. Like, you're distracting everyone. And you're, like, making weird comments about classmates in regards to the weird poem on stage or on the screen saying, like, oh, can you go out with me, Kate? It's our fate, bro. Like, first of all, he should have been expelled for cringe, but I don't think that's actually a thing you can get expelled for. But if it is, or if it was, he definitely would have been. So you might be thinking that this is, like, the end of the story and that it doesn't get crazier. And you might be thinking, Connor, why did you title this like teacher rages or exposes or embarrasses or whatever, spoiled kid? Let me just say that this isn't the end for the teacher ranting on the spoiled kid. The teacher very soon is about to do a massive dunk on the spoiled kid in front of everyone. Probably something that he's been wanting to do for a while, but has been held back, right? So yeah, the spoiled kid is sent to the front office. He gets yelled at. He gets a 0 on the presentation, whatever. Other than that, he doesn't get much more of a punishment. So the spoiled kid, give this a couple days, right? He's no longer sitting next to Kate because he kind of realizes at this point, he kind of did the Hail Mary, which wasn't even a Hail Mary because those at least have a chance, even if it's unlikely. He did the good old shotgun to the face maneuver, which doesn't really work that well in battle. It doesn't really destroy the opponents that well. It's a little detrimental to yourself, I've heard. But yeah, this is when he learns the truth, according to him, right? So word gets out because Sultan's sitting at the table and one of his boys comes up and is like, dude, the spoiled kid is super mad at everyone. And, Sultan's like, why? Is he mad because we didn't bow down to him when he showed off his $2 billion house or something? And he's like, no, apparently the spoiled kid was told that everybody went up to Kate and told her that they shouldn't mess with him, right? And he's super mad and is planning to get his revenge or something. So Sultan's like, what? What does that even mean? And he's like, I don't know. Apparently he's going to expose everyone or something. So Sultan's like, okay, that's pretty weird. First of all, does this kid actually think that us saying, hey man, be careful is really what made Kate not want to get with him at the end of the day? Does he not believe that his presentation saying that he's super rich, handsome, awesome, and drives fast cars and Kate should go out with him, which he delivered via a poem, do you really think that didn't have any effect on the fact that him and Kate aren't currently dating at this very second in this universe, in this timeline? Do you really think that is the reason why? Do you think that has any effect? And no. No effect at all. In fact, that probably helped his chances. But the fact that Sultan said bad words about him means that he doesn't have a chance with her anymore. Or at least that was the logic. However, the spoiled kid didn't think that one person, he didn't think Sultan or one of Sultan's friends individually said, told Kate not to get with him.
The spoiled kid thinks that literally everyone in his class is like against him. So he's going to expose quote unquote everybody, which is just kind of ridiculous. But Sultan is kind of excited to see it because he's like, all right, bet, let's see it. So after class, or the next day comes around, and Sultan walks into class. And he sits down, and the spoiled kid's late. So he's like, oh, maybe spoiled kid's skipping class because he can't handle the fact that Kate's in here and he couldn't secure the bag. But no, the spoiled kid walks in 2 minutes late to class, and the geography teacher's like, spoiled kid, like, you can't be late to class like this. Like, go sit down. Like, it's a distraction when you're late. And the spoiled kid says, no. Today, I need your attention. He stands up in front of the class. And the geography teacher's like, what? He's like, no, you're sitting down. And the spoiled kid's like, silence. And the geography teacher literally goes silent from shock because he would have never expected one of his students to yell silence at him. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing he's ever heard. But the spoiled kid goes on to say, it is all your fault. It is your fault. Sounding like Nico Cotto Avocado for a second. He's like, it's your fault, and points to everyone. You guys were bad-mouthing me to Kate, saying that I'm not a good guy, when all I am is very good, handsome, and rich. The reason why that this girl, points to Kate, embarrassing her again, which, bro, that's not chill. Not chill at all. But he's like, the reason why she won't go out with me is because you guys tricked her into thinking that I'm the worst. Everyone's kind of looking at each other. Sultan is like trying to hold back his laughter because he's like, bro's digging his own grave. That's crazy. But yeah, he's like, you guys are the reason why she doesn't like me. You guys are the reason why we aren't dating right now. And Kate's like literally has her head in her arms. Like, can this kid stop, bro? He's embarrassing not just me, which he is embarrassing me. He's also playing himself with this whole thing, dude. Like, he's got to stop. Someone's got to stop this kid. But yeah, no, and he keeps on going on to be like, yeah, and the reason why she doesn't like me is you guys. You all told her I suck when I don't. And bro, that's when the history teacher comes in and drops a nuclear bomb. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Not nuclear, it's nuclear. My grandmother loves telling me, like, nope, wrong, because I'm always like, nuclear. She's like, nuclear, which I might as well pronounce it correctly. But he goes on, drops a bomb. He stands up and he's like, that's not why she said no, spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid turns around to look at the teacher. It's almost as if in one of those action movies where, like, the bad guy thinks that, like, he's, like, shot down or killed, like, the good guy or whatever. And then the good guy gets back up with, like, a massive machine gun and is like, oh, like you thought, like, you killed me or whatever. And then he comes back. Kind of like the same energy. Everyone in the class was low-key stunned because they were not expecting the teacher to come with such fire. The teacher goes on to say, the reason why that she's rejecting you is because you're an entitled, spoiled brat who thinks that just because, like, that he can get anything that he wants and he can be a jerk and disrespect anyone. The whole class goes silent, but this isn't your typical silence. This is your, damn, someone just got roasted silence. And just like, everyone's attention, every ounce of their attention was on this teacher. Because this teacher was just going in, bro. He was going in. He's like, every day you come in with some kind of entitled arrogance. When we had show and tell, you didn't bring something that you cared about. You brought something that was expensive just because it was expensive. When you went up there to do your presentation, like, and you didn't even do the subject matter that we're covering, you just covered yourself because you wanted to ask a girl out. And what was the qualities that you portrayed up there? You didn't say that you were kind, funny, or smart. You said that you were rich and handsome. Which the first thing is because you're a father and mother, and the second thing is questionable. Boom! God damn! I'm gonna have to pull a fire alarm in here, bro, because that was too fire. That's too toasted, dude. I'm gonna catch on fire just being in proximity to these burns. But yeah, a spoiled kid literally looks so destroyed. And the teacher ends it off by saying, like, might as well sit down now and cut your losses. And instead of trying to fight back, the spoiled kid at this point knew that, yeah, man, he might as well sit down and just try and cut his losses, because he was not going to be able to recover from this one. So as soon as class got out,
word spread of this like wildfire. Spread like fire, even hotter than the burns that were given to the spoiled kid, right? Sultan rushes to his lunch table with his friend, and they're all just like screaming about it. The whole lunchroom is abuzz like this. And if you don't want this to happen to you, leave a like. I'm just kidding. No, you should leave a like. But if you don't want this to happen to you, just be a good person who doesn't let things like money, or maybe if you're just like a good looking kid or whatever, you just got good genetics, you rolled well, or if you got like money, or if you're really smart, or if you're the star lacrosse, hockey, football, whatever player, if you don't let this stuff go to your head and you're a genuine good person, then this stuff will never happen to you. And that's the moral of today's story. If you want to support the channel, watch another video. Love you guys. Peace. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.